Yeah, we're on.
Got
we're
it.
recording.
Okay.
We're recording.
Okay, good.
Are we good to start, guys?
And my
Sure.
show's audio anyways, so.
Who wants to lead? I don't mind leading.
Well, why don't
It's
you
your
introduce
show,
us since
dude.
it's your guys' podcast?
It's your guys' show.
Right, pants off, everyone.
Let's
get this
you didn't
party
see me
started.
sit down, did you?
Now it's a party.
In the UK, pants mean something else. That's the underwear. So this could get really filthy.
Well,
Guys,
isn't this the
Going commando.
freaky,
Oh, yeah.
Always.
freaky
Balling.
paranormal,
Free balling.
uncomfortable heart rose?
Yeah,
Rose heart. Or,
Insight.
yeah.
this is a big show, guys.
Well, I put
I'm-
paranormal for you, Tim.
Oh, the paranormal was for me. Thank you. I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
and then I did the heart for Kat because you guys both have paranormal in your name.
I
Well,
am
I know.
super
That's why I
excited
wanted to
for
go
this.
with Insight, but that's me. Give Cat paranormal.
I'm going through the chats to see what we actually called it, and I'm seeing.
We called it the
animal-
Fantastic Five.
Well, I'm seeing like coconuts and moose testicles. I don't know what that is.
You told me those were dog balls, girl, and I was
No,
like,
the
Water
video.
buffalo.
No, the video.
I had sent a video of a dog going down the
Yeah.
stairway and his
Yeah,
balls
yeah,
were
that was
bouncing out.
Yeah.
harsh.
And then
man.
All of a
That
sudden,
made me
then the
cringe.
video was gone. And that's what she was responding to. And you were like, there's no dog balls. But I don't know what the hell happened to the video. It was there and then it
Okay,
was
so I wasn't tripping. The video was there.
gone. It was.
Okay, thank you.
It was. It was not a set of paranormal dog balls. They went there and then
We
they're gone.
promise.
That chat got filthy very quickly. And
Yeah, it
I loved it.
denigrated really quick. As soon as I entered in, oddly
Yeah.
enough.
actually,
Is there a
Kat
correlation?
started it.
We don't know.
I'm telling you, my evil twin took over the chat. It was not me.
Of course.
I felt uncomfortable and I had to leave. And my
That's what she said.
Let my evil twin take over.
Guys, I am super excited to have you all together. This is amazing. This is an
This is.
amazing moment right now. This feels like a weird dream or something. It doesn't feel real.
I know, right?
Guys together. I love it.
Happy
this-
to be here.
Not in the eyes. Not in the eyes.
This is a Halloween special. So let's get it
Happy
on, guys.
Halloween.
Let's get it
Oh,
on.
yeah. Yeah. Happy
Shall we-
Halloween, everyone.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. Shall we go around the
Welcome.
table and introduce ourselves?
Yep.
Sure.
I
Welcome to
was-
the spooky season.
It's
yeah,
so
I
spooky.
love that.
My favorite
dark.
Best time
year.
of year. Let's go.
It really is.
Who
Okay.
wants to introduce
Wonderful
themselves
time of year.
first? Who wants to get the show started?
Ladies first.
JJ. Après vous.
I'm JJ Roa. Oh my god, I almost started
Are
speaking
you sure?
French. Thanks, Kat.
Bonjour.
Je m'appelle JJ Roa, 777. Yeah, all right, restart. Hi, I'm JJ
JJ.
Rose, 777.
Hello.
JJ.
We should start from scratch, Tommy.
No, we're doing this is all
we're
going
keeping
out.
this,
I love
yeah.
all this. This is
So
perfect.
tell the listeners what your show's about and where they can find you. I know we
that
usually do
would
that
be
at the end, but
helpful.
yeah, it would.
Okay.
Act like you've been here before, JJ.
That self-promotion factor would
I feel like I know you all. Like, why am I introducing myself?
Yeah.
Are public people going to hear this? Yeah. Okay. Reminder.
So if you're listening to my
Um,
show, there's a whole two. I don't know.
No.
So I'm JJ Rose 777. I am a psychic, paranormal investigator, as well as metaphysical teacher, minister, and energy entity remover and light worker, and also a white witch. So
She's a
happy
witch.
Samhain.
Yeah.
When you said minister, I thought you were going to say a menace.
I can be a menace.
Oh, I know.
It's happened before.
Phantom menace.
Only thing she left out was dominatrix.
Oh,
Now that's why I don't show my face, Eric.
oh.
Only to the paying customer.
All makes sense now.
A lot of people just math
Oh.
the math.
Oh, jeepers.
Oh man.
I'm crying.
Kat, it's your turn.
Okay, I'm Kat Ward, host of Paranormal Heart Podcast, and I'm also a paranormal investigator here in the Ottawa Valley in Ontario, Canada. Taking a little break from investigating, just too much stuff going on in the real life right now, so focusing on my podcast.
Ooh. Awesome. And we got Tim with us tonight. Tim.
Hello, everyone. I'm Tim Sudano with Paranormal Insight, host of that show, I should say. Also a paranormal investigator with my paranormal partner, JJ Rose 777. We have 3 other people outside that who help us as well. Welcome to the show and happy Halloween.
Oh,
I would have said that. Happy Halloween.
And I am Erick Szilagyi. I am the host of the Uncomfortable Podcast. And I talk about all things fringe topics, anything that is under the umbrella of strange and paranormal. You will find wonderful examples of that throughout my library of shows. It's a pleasure to be here, and happy Halloween.
Awesome. I am Tommy Cullum, host of Let's Get Freaky Podcast, and I am so excited to have you guys all together under one room or one screen.
Thrilled to be here.
Say.
Uh-oh. Hang on, guys. I stopped recording for some reason.
Oh, you broke it.
Kat.
I didn't even touch anything. Can you introduce
That's what she
yourself
said.
again? Can you start again, Tommy? Sorry, that's
Yeah.
when it cut out.
Okay, well, that's weird. So I am Tommy Cullum, host of Let's Get Freaky Podcast, and I am so excited to have us all together in one room, or screen, shall I say.
Virtual room. Virtual room.
Did I say that the same?
We're all here.
So,
That's
The
what
gang's
counts.
all here.
shall we
Yeah.
start with recent paranormal experiences?
Oh, sure.
What's been going
Wow.
on?
Don't go to me first.
I request to go last,
Okay.
Really? Okay.
And-
Okay.
and probably with good reason.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because
JJ?
because it sounds really intriguing and nobody will want to listen to the rest of the show after we speak. So.
Yeah.
Probably.
All of ours are really boring.
This is as recent as Saturday. So
Yeah.
Which is 3 days ago at the
I'm
point of this
ex-
recording.
At the so this
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm excited to hear that, man. I am
that's gonna be
excited.
fun. Well, does anyone else have anything? 'Cause
Kat,
mine's
have
kind of
you had any
basic.
recent?
Well,
Mine's
it's that
basic.
it's that car one that
Car?
JJ that Tommy and JJ know about. So so the town that I live in is just really small. So whenever I have to get my groceries, I have to drive 30 minutes to the next town, to the Walmart, and get all our groceries there. And so my daughter and I were coming home. So in between the two towns, there's a stretch on the road that is there's no houses, it's just trees, and then there's fields on both sides of the road, and we have wild turkeys. It's pretty cool to see. And one day we're coming back from getting groceries, and JJ, I think I was just thinking of you that first time, and
Yep.
I saw this burst of white yellowish light, and I was the passenger, so I had to text her, say, hey, is everything okay? This is what I saw. My daughter's driving, and all of a sudden the car, the dashboard, all the lights start chiming, going bling, bling. So she pulls the car over, and it stalls. And we're like, okay, that's kind of funny. So we waited a little bit, and we decided to start the car again. It's not starting. So I had to call my husband, and I'm like, yeah, can he come save us? The car just kind of died on us. And he goes, what do you mean? I'm like, what do you mean? What do I mean? It won't start. It died. He goes, okay, I'll be there in like 5 minutes. So he shows up. Of course, he can start it and not a problem. It's like, okay, didn't think anything of it, other than JJ had said that she was doing an episode, and she was putting out light just for protection, and I was picking up on it, and then the car stalled. Can't remember how many days afterwards I'm coming back from town again, and it happens again at the exact same spot. And I'm thinking, okay, this is kind of, it chimes again, biddling, biddling, pull over right away, and it just stalls. And we're like, okay, the same spot. First time, yeah, it happens. I have an old car. It's a 2012 Ford Fiesta. It happens. It's old. Second time, okay, I'm starting to suspect things, right? And then a few days later, it happens for a third time at the exact same spot. We're just like, what in the actual hell is going on here? So, of course, JJ and Tommy take pictures. I take pictures, but I don't know what I was thinking. I probably wasn't. I took pictures through the car windows. So being a paranormal investigator, I just failed right there, because you can have any glares on the window. So if I thought I picked up something, it's probably just glare on the window. So that was an epic fail. But so then noticed one day that my daughter went to take the car, and one of the tires was flat. Apparently, we've been driving on the rims. We're just digging into the tire. My husband says, I don't know how you did not have a blowout. You are so lucky. Bought all new tires, and anybody who knows anything about vehicles, you don't just buy one tire. You got to either get 2 or 4. So we bought 4 tires, changed them all. It has not happened since. It is the weirdest thing. So I went to town today. When I came home at that same spot, I actually said out loud, thank you so much for whatever you are, for looking out for us. We really appreciate it. Please keep looking out for us. I really have no idea. Even my husband, when I told him, he says, okay, 3 times is kind of, there's no coincidences at the same spot 3 times, and like I said, he does. And my husband's a mechanic in the military, and he's like, I don't know how you did not have a blowout. I don't know. It just escapes him. He was like, you were so friggin' lucky. So
Well,
I do chalk
Kat,
it up to paranormal.
Okay.
for sure. But there's one part that you're missing, Kat, that you forgot to state.
Oh,
Each time it happened, remember what you saw? It was almost like it was Groundhog Day.
Totally forgot. There was a guy on a
Yeah.
bicycle just driving his bike. The first time it happened, we passed the guy on the bike, and then that's when it happened. Second time, guy on the bike, pass him, it happened. It was just like, what? Third time, he was not there, though. It was the 2 first times, but still, just like, I never see anybody riding bikes on that stretch of road. So,
Well,
Full
and you had
sense.
sent, she had sent pictures to Tommy and I, and it's pretty rural. It's kind of, it's beautiful, but it's definitely middle of nowhere. And the spot is very specific where she stalled. There's almost a little, what do you call that? Like a turnout, or
Yeah.
like a little part on the side of the road. Just
yeah,
kind of perfect.
Yeah. It's just like the shoulder of the road is just dirt, so I was able to just pull off at that spot.
But it's only dirt in that specific spot. The rest of it's all grass or ditch.
Yeah.
So the fact that it happened 3 times in the same spot, and it's the same spot because that's the only part of that road that has that.
Yep.
I think, that sounds alienish.
Yeah.
With the whole
I was going to ask if you saw anything overhead, because that is a classic UFO thing. Classic.
During the daytime, but that doesn't mean anything. But I was looking at the skies, trying to see if I could spot something, and I did not. But a couple of times I was driving too, but after we pulled over, I'm kind of scanning the sky, and I didn't see anything, but it doesn't mean they're not there.
Fair enough.
Did you check the clock? Was there any missing time or anything like that?
No, that I do know there was no missing time. That would have been interesting, though.
Yeah.
There would have.
That was one of the first things that any missing time, like after the second time it happened.
Was it
home? What time is it right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Was it the same time as well?
No, it was in the afternoon. all 3 times, but not the same time.
But you saw the
Interesting.
bike guy twice. That's
Yep,
interesting.
the 2 first times, yeah. Same guy.
Interesting.
Dressed the same?
I believe so. Yeah, he still had the same because he had a baseball cap, jeans, and I can't remember what his shirt was, but yeah, because I remember the second time I said, "Oh, look, there's that guy again," to my daughter riding his bike, and she goes, "Oh yeah, kind of weird." And then we pass him, and the chimes start coming on. So the light on the dash that came on was the battery. That your battery is dead, and they're just like, "Oh, everything, nothing else came on but the battery."
Okay.
So we pulled over, and yeah, it was really weird. So the first time when my husband came to rescue us, he had his multimeter and everything. And he's checking everything, and he says, "There's power. There's like the battery's fine. I don't know why. You just stalled." And he starts it up. Not a problem.
Okay.
So it's like, okay.
Now, I
Interesting.
had a similar thing happen to me. We were in the middle of a solar storm at the time. So I think it was a lot of EMP stuff that was happening to my
Okay.
car, but my van would not turn over. Full battery, the whole
Wow.
thing. And then I'd wait 5 minutes, no problem. But so I knew it was a solar storm. So maybe that's one explanation.
Well,
But I
that's
mean, the
interesting
same
you say
exact
that.
spot is what really throws me off that theory.
Yep. Oh,
Well,
the third. Go ahead.
Sorry, the other thing, Tim, is because I do watch the solar activity so much. When she had told me that was something that I had thought too, and
Okay.
we were not in the middle of a solar storm.
Oh, interesting.
So I ruled that
Okay.
one out the first 2 times.
The third time it happened, after we were able to start the car again, I just waited a minute or 2, and it starts up, not a problem. Drive away, and I looked at my daughter, and I said, I wonder if there was somebody, like maybe there's a body in that location, in that field, trying to tell us something. And all of a sudden, boom, it happened again. And I had to pull over, and it stalled. I thought I told you that part. Oh, so yeah. But then I guess I pulled over. It was really, really weird. And
That is weird.
yeah. So then pulled over, waited a minute, started up, not a problem. Haven't had the issue since. Well, then we got new tires right away. And actually it was the next day that we were able to get them installed. So no issues ever since.
Okay.
Interesting.
I mean, I'm no mechanic,
Me neither.
but I do know that tires don't cause the entire, board to light up and the car to stall.
Yeah.
I've
But
gotten
it's
that
like
far in life mechanically.
gas goes here, key goes here, we're good. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
but
typically, historically, tires aren't tied to any of the electrical system. Newer cars in the past 10 years, they have sensors that inform you if you have a tire that's low. So those are tied into the electrical system, but simply as a solenoid that would kick on or kick off to determine if the pressure had changed and was too low. So I wouldn't really
Yours
think
is
that.
a 2012 though, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think they had those back then.
I do have tire sensors in there, but
They do? Okay.
Yeah. And it wasn't on. So another strange thing, how, my husband said, I don't know, because the tire was just chewed to bits, he said, like just where the rims are. So I probably hit some potholes, bent the rim a little bit, and it was just digging into the tire. So, but
still no alarm. That was
yeah.
And you have that system. So
Had it happened at different places, I probably wouldn't have thought paranormal or aliens or anything like that. But because it happened at the same spot every time,
that is peculiar.
There's no coincidences.
No.
And the fact that you had the dead body question, and then it's like, what? Did you ever investigate that?
No, there's usually a decent amount of vehicles on that road, and it's only 2 lanes, like 1 lane going both ways. So I would like to, maybe on a quiet weekend, go with my EMF detector or something, audio recorder, and just check it out. I do plan on doing it, but I haven't had a chance yet.
If you end up finding that bicyclist dead, that's going to freak me out.
Oh man.
I didn't
Oh,
consider
I
that
never
that was a
even thought of
ghost.
that. Yeah.
That's
Didn't
smart.
even
That's
think
good.
of that. Ooh.
That's my partner,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen.
Right. Show's over. We're all going to Canada.
Drop mic.
I'm on my way. Yeah, it was interesting because you really kept going on about, you felt there was a dead body, and I was like, girl, take your camera and go look up in the sky.
Yeah,
But I
I never
mean,
think.
both the battery being dead, even though it wasn't dead, but that was the main reason why it wasn't restarting.
Yep.
Also, as a paranormal thing, I mean, Tim, on investigations, we've had batteries die
Oh yeah.
inexplicably.
Yeah.
Huh.
Interesting.
Yep.
That's an
So
intriguing story.
Something was looking out for us.
Yeah.
All right. Guardian Angels 1.
I have more than one because I need an army.
No.
They just get so
Yeah.
tired.
Oh, my wings are killing me. I had to look over cat today.
Over and over and over. This girl's gonna kill me.
I think I need backup on this one.
You see those pictures of an old woman. She's an angel and she's drinking and she's smoking. Well, yeah, I think those are my guardian angels.
Your Van Halen Guardian Angels. Remember that cover?
Yeah. Yep.
Right on. Right on.
Right. Anyone else had any other weird things happen recently?
I mean, I have weird stuff happen every day. So.
Yeah.
She woke up this morning. It happened.
I feel like I'm getting more weird stuff happening. Like I feel like it's happening more and more. And I talk about it on the show and stuff, and I bet people are like, come on, man, how's this happening to him? But it is happening. There's weird stuff happening. I don't know if you invite it. I don't know, but it's weird.
Possible.
There's weird stuff happening all the time.
I think it's just because you're more aware.
Looking more aware for sure. Also, the fact that you're looking into it and things look back, but also, we did Tommy, you, Eric, and I did our PSA back in January of this year, actually. And, that was all about the veil not coming back. It's still not back.
Oh,
And here
I was
we
going
are
to
in
ask
the
you
time
about
where,
that.
yeah, I mean, and here we are, entering spooky season, which is normally the time that the veil starts going down. And I'm not going to lie, I'm getting a little nervous for the fact that it's in such shreds. Like, is it going to go away more? Because, okay, if you think you're seeing stuff now, just wait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when we done that episode, I can't believe that was in January. That seems like,
Yeah.
where's this year gone, man? That's crazy.
Yeah. Years gone by fast.
Well, it seems, Tommy, like you and I just met like a couple of months ago, and it's been what, a year?
Yeah. I think we recorded our first time was October last year or September last year, I think. So yeah, this time last year. It's crazy.
You had only been doing your podcast for a couple of months. Like, it wasn't very long, and I was really impressed. It's like, holy hell.
I can't believe how quick that's. It just seems like
million
yesterday.
Followers on Facebook.
Yeah.
I'm trying.
Every bearded man in the world follows him.
Yeah, the beard gang. We've all got cool beards though, man. Obviously, the ladies haven't.
Thankfully.
Yeah.
Because this would go
I've been
a
called a
long
beard,
way.
but not in the traditional sense.
My French genes didn't come out.
Oh, man.
It
took me a while to catch
ladies
that.
and gentlemen, you can send your complaints to Cat Ward, care of Paranormal Heart Podcast.
Maybe you should apologize in French.
Désolé. Je m'excuse.
Can you speak full French, Cat?
Yeah, I've lost a lot of it over the years. My husband doesn't speak it, but it's nice. The hotel that I work at, we have a lot of French guests because Quebec is just next to us, and we get a lot of French speaking guests there. So I get to practice, which is
That's
really
cool.
nice. And
That's
because
excellent.
I'm from the East Coast, I'm Acadian French, which is totally different from Quebec French. So I'll tell them. I'll say it in French first. I'll say "J'espère que vous pouvez comprendre mon accent acadien," which means I really hope that you can understand my Acadian accent. And then they'll say "Oui, madame," say, you know, and then they say "We love your accent."
Wow.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah, yeah.
I struggle with English. So, I don't know how you do too, man.
Just raised that way.
Kat, I gotta ask you, one of my favorite shows to watch is Letterkenny.
Oh, yep.
Is that show as popular up there as it seems like it should be?
Yeah, I love that show. I even drink Pupper's beer.
Do you really?
Which is,
It's
yes,
real?
it's real. Yeah.
Oh my
We have it in our
God.
liquor stores here. Yeah, it's actually filmed in Sudbury, which is about 5 to 8 hours from me. I can't remember how far it is,
Yeah.
but yeah, I love that show.
What's it called?
It's
Letterkenny.
called Letterkenny.
Yeah.
It is there. This was years ago. I found a YouTube short that I showed my kids because it struck me as hilarious. And it's not because it's so funny. It's the, I don't know what it is. Okay, so the episodes are like 22 or 23 minutes long.
Oh,
But the amount of words that are spoken in that show by each character probably double that of any other hour-long program. They talk fast. They talk like the writers for that show put so much effort into the scripts because it's so much. And what I love about it is I have watched all 11 seasons multiple times because you pick something up new every time you watch it because you just can't keep up with, and the characters are great. I just absolutely love the show.
How are you now?
I can't. How are you? Good, and you? Fair.
Not so bad.
To be fair.
Yes. Every time somebody at work says "to be fair," I just go "to be fair," and then they look at me. I'm like, "You've never watched Letterkenny, have you?"
Oh my God. I absolutely love that show.
Yep.
I need to watch this, man.
But it was what I found on YouTube years ago, and I showed my kids before they were even out of high school, were these like little 3 or 4 minute shorts that they were doing with those same characters. They just didn't have a show yet. And yeah, it's amazing. I recommend it to everybody I talk to. Most people look at me like I'm nuts, but it's awesome.
I just met you and I know you are. That's why I love this gang. Yeah, I haven't watched all the seasons yet. I can't remember what season because it's on Crave here in Ontario.
Yeah.
So my husband and I watch it, and yeah, it's such a funny show.
Yeah, I get it on Hulu, and literally for years that 70s show was like my comfort show for going to bed. So I would watch a couple episodes. I set the timer on the TV for a half hour, and then I would just fall asleep to it. And that's now that's off of Netflix and everything, it's turned into Letterkenny. And I honestly, I can't tell you how many times I've been through the seasons because I just every night when I go to bed. And if I don't, I'm late to the game, but I just started watching Yellowstone, which is really kind of outside my shows. I'm not typically a Western guy, but I found it to be a very good program. Yep. So I've been like, trying to break the habit. So I'll put on an episode of that and just set the timer on the TV. And I'm like, fuck, I can't do this. I got to go back and I got to put Letterkenny on. If they ever take it off, I'm screwed. I barely get sleep as it is. If they take that off, I'm absolutely screwed.
The first time I knew that that beer was real, my husband went to the liquor store. I was working till 11 o'clock at night, and I come home and I open the fridge, and he says, yeah, he had sent me a text as I picked up a little surprise for you. It's in the fridge. I'm like, okay. So I open the fridge and I'm like, Pupper's beer? It's real?
It's
I
crazy.
absolutely love
Yeah.
it. It's a good beer too.
Is it really?
Yeah.
That's
well, I like
awesome.
it. Yeah. Wish I could send you some.
Yeah, I wish you
This
could too.
episode brought to you by Letterkenny.
And
Right.
Puppers beer. Get that guy a Puppers. Oh, that's hilarious.
I'm going to be checking that out for sure. I need to see that,
Yes.
man. You've sold
I,
it to me.
I hope you can get it over there.
Yeah, mate.
I
Not-
get it on Hulu.
Hulu. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll check that out. It's great when you get a comfort show that you can just watch over and over again. That's this.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how many times you watch it, you know, it gives you a good feeling when you watch it. I love that. Awesome, guys.
Yeah.
So, should I tell you some of my recent paranormal experiences?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Is it, hold on,
Yes.
is it in a forest?
Not in a
Or-
forest. Not in a forest. Not in a forest. I'll start with this one. This happened a couple of weeks ago. I was at a wedding in Essex, which is right near London. And I was the best man. And my good friend Joey Arbefa, if you're listening, congratulations, Joey Arbefa, on your new wedding.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Joey.
I hope wedding life
Congratulations,
is
Joey.
Yeah. I hope wedding life is treating you well. It's been a couple of weeks, so you've probably had enough already. I don't mean that.
Wow.
I don't mean that.
Sure.
But he's
Damn.
Joe's had some experiences. I'm actually going to get him on the show soon. He's one of these guys that's had a few experiences, but he still doubts.
Is this
Yeah.
the friend you told me about?
I think I did. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
So he had an experience when he was really young where he woke up one night, went to the toilet during the night, went back to bed, and he said all his toys were floating in his room.
No.
Yeah. And I'm like, how can you not believe in the paranormal when something like that has happened?
Helium.
And he's like, I
Swamp
don't know.
gas.
He's like, I don't know. Was I sleepwalking and dreaming? Like he's which is fair enough. Like you've got to look at all the possibilities.
Yeah.
But he had that experience, and he's had a few other experiences as well that I would say are paranormal. But he still very much doubts it. And anyway, he was getting married last week, a couple of weeks ago, in a church. And just before the wedding was kicking off, we was like, should we go toilet quickly just before, because it's going to be a while in the church. Let's get that out of us. So we've gone to there was like a little building behind the church, and we've gone in there to go to the toilet before, and nobody else was in there. It was empty. We walked in, and as we walked up to the toilets, there was, I think it was a disabled toilet next to the men's toilet, and we could hear someone in there. It sounded like they was on their phone watching something, and we was like listening.
Letterkenny.
Yeah, probably. It probably was. It probably was. And we was listening, and we was like, what are you watching? Who's in there listening to something now? Like, we didn't know. And we were just sort of laughing about it. Anyway, we went to the toilet, come out really quickly, and the door was open, right? And nobody else was there. We didn't see anyone leave. And I, as a joke, right, pushed the door open, went, who's in there? Who's in there? Expecting to see someone that we knew in there. And there was no one in there, but me and Joe both heard a voice basically shout something at us. I promise you, it was so. And we looked at each other.
What did he say?
We couldn't make out what he said. We don't know what it was. Definitely, it was like something shouted at us. And I looked at Joe, and he looked at me, and I was like, you heard that right? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, we've just had a paranormal experience before your wedding. That is going on the show. He's
What's
like,
going on the show? Nice. Don't hang out with Tommy. If something
Yeah.
weird happens, it's going on the show.
yeah. So what's the chance of that?
Even
And
the
then-
bathrooms aren't safe.
Yeah, for sure. And we didn't get time to really talk about it the rest of the day because he was getting married and all that. So it was a couple of days later, we had a phone call, and I said, you remember what happened before the wedding, right? And he was like, yeah, man, what was that? Like something shouted at us. There was something in that toilet that wasn't there. And it was just so weird. And the fact that he sort of accepts it as well, I find that interesting because he's someone that wouldn't, he'd sort of dismiss it normally, but he couldn't dismiss it because it happened, and it was very weird.
Didn't you say the
Bolts.
music sounded kind of like creepy music? Like
Yeah.
you thought someone was like watching like a horror film or something?
Yeah, I mean that's what I thought. That's what I sort of took at the time. We was listening in for a little bit. I know it's weird. You shouldn't really be listening to people going to the toilet, but it was so loud in the toilet, and we assumed it was one of our friends because it was all our friends were there for the wedding, so we assumed it was one of us there, or it could have been the vicar. I don't know, but
Wow.
You almost caught the vicar with his pants down.
yeah.
literally.
We should have had him as a guest on the show.
Yeah.
The
He
vicar
would have
with
fit
no
in
knickers.
tonight.
Fit right in.
Don't know what he was watching. Sounded
It was a-
scary.
it was
There
a
was a lot of
pants off,
there was a lot of
dance off.
screaming going on. But yeah, I don't know what it was it just sounded to me like someone on their mobile phone. But the thing is, it's hard to explain, but they shouldn't have been able to get out that quick and away from us, whoever was in there. And
Yeah.
so
Is it possible that there would have been a vent that would have been connected to the other restroom and maybe somebody was in
Yeah.
there?
I did think that's a possibility. Yeah, for sure. That is a possibility. I didn't check the bathroom out after. I should have done really, but just didn't have time. But yeah, that is a possibility. Yeah, but we both.
How close is this place? Can you go back just to check it out?
Yeah, it's just where I'm from originally in Essex.
Okay.
I will be able to go back there. But it was just so weird how we both sort of looked at each other like, what? Like, and he's someone that's not into the paranormal. So that's why as well that I was like, that's cool that he's had that experience. I was like, you're coming on the show soon, boy. We got to talk about that. But yeah, it was weird. It was weird.
See a ghost, be a guest.
Yeah. That's it.
It works.
That's
Tommy,
a good
do you have
plan.
anything else?
I had another weird experience with the whole family. I think this was like a week before that happened. So we was all just had a KFC. You got KFC, of course you have.
Sure.
So we was eating KFC in the car. Just gone to the drive-through. Was eating it in the car. We're all sitting there, just talking. The whole family. The kids were in the back, and me and my wife were in the front. And all of a sudden, Ruby's window just started going down on its own, and she freaked out, like she started crying. She was like, "I'm not touching it," and we was laughing because it was. The window was just going down, and we just assumed she'd put her arm on it or something by mistake, but she wasn't touching it. But it was very weird. I know that's not. I don't know what that was. Can a car do that? I don't know. Can you get a?
You and
No.
Kat with the car stuff.
I know.
Yeah.
No. Do you also drive a Ford Fiesta?
Yes.
That would be. Do you really?
No.
Oh,
no.
jeez.
No. It's a
Had me
Suzuki.
there.
It was a Suzuki Swift.
Okay.
But it was weird because she wasn't touching it, and it was just going down on its own. Now, was there a malfunction? It's never happened before. It's never happened. It's not happened since. But she wasn't touching it. My wife wasn't touching anything. I wasn't touching anything. The kids were freaking out. And yeah, it was weird. It was another weird experience.
Yeah.
So that's another one.
Yeah, that's strange. That's different.
Well,
Yeah.
brace yourself for more.
I also saw a UFO Saturday, possibly this Saturday.
Did you really?
Really?
Yeah. No.
Just pepper that on in. Okay.
So was it Friday or Saturday last week? I was on the beach at night. It was all on the beach. Sometimes we go on there and have a little barbecue on the beach with the family. And I'm always, as you know, I'm always trying to see UFOs and stuff because I love it. And me and Lois both saw this light in the sky that was quite low down, really bright. And we was like, oh, that's a plane. That's a plane. I was watching it. No, that's a plane. But it's not moving. And we're like, it's not moving. And it wasn't moving it didn't move for ages. And we were just watching it. And I was like, no, it's not a UFO. It's too obvious. It's just there. And all of a sudden I went, right, I'm going to take a picture of it. Got my phone out. As soon as I got my phone out, it was just gone.
Of course.
Oh, of course. Naturally.
I mean, it was weird.
Always the way it happens.
I don't know.
Like,
Was it a
it's
UFO?
like, oh crap, he saw us.
Yeah, this is gonna go on Instagram. No. So yeah, that was my other weird experience recently. Very recent.
Interesting.
Yeah. I've had a few recently. Oh, another thing that keeps happening. This is weird. So I've started napping during the day, which I don't normally do. It's quite a new thing that I've started having 10 minutes during the day.
Called getting older,
Siesta.
Tommy.
Yeah. Yeah. I've never done that before though, because it makes me feel rough. If I have like 10 minutes during the day and I wake up, it like ruins me for about an hour. But I've started to do it because I'm getting older. And I've just got this.
In fairness, though, you live your life on American time.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Yeah.
So
I don't sleep a lot.
Yeah, I mean, that's not necessarily an age thing. You have altered your sleep routine to accommodate North American time zones.
Yeah. So I go to bed very late and then the kids get me up very early every day. So that's what it is. Yeah. So I'm having little power naps during the day. And I keep having this weird thing recently where I'm not thinking of, obviously, I'm just trying to relax. I'm laying there. I'm trying not to think about anything. And I shut my eyes and I'm not asleep. And you know, when you shut your eyes and you see patterns in your eyes, sometimes you can see faces and stuff. Does anyone get that?
Yep.
It's just a normal thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can see stuff. And I've been doing that and I'm laying there and all of a sudden, this might sound a bit weird, but I'll just see like a picture of something. Like, for example, the other day it was like a spaceship that I've never seen before. But like perfect, like just as if it's like a perfect picture, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And I'm like, it sort of freaks me out in that moment. And I'm like, that's weird. Like, that's not just seeing something in my eye. Any ideas what that could be, guys? Because it's weird and it's been happening quite a lot recently. I don't know what that could be.
Well, you're just
So you
psychic.
close your eyes. I just want to clarify. You close your eyes and you see a very vivid picture.
Yeah, and sometimes it's a face of someone that I don't know.
Okay.
Sometimes it gets, but
would you
when
say
you
there were
when you
colors
shut
to
your-
this picture?
Yeah,
or
it's
was
like
it more
perfect.
like an outline? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was
'Cause-
wondering if it was like the outline you sometimes see. of
because
things if
sometimes when you
close your eyes.
shut your eyes and you can see patterns and then you can make a face.
Yeah.
So that's something I've always done, but this is different. This is like a clear picture comes to me.
Okay. Yeah. I've
And
had that happen.
And it's weird. Yeah. Oh, you've had that.
Yeah, I've had that. That's weird.
Yeah,
I
me
had
too.
an episode in my 30s, I believe it was, where for about a week, whenever I closed my eyes, it was like my eyelids were clear. It was weird. I could literally turn my head, look around the room, and I can identify where things were perfectly in 3 dimensions, like you do, as if they weren't closed at all. And it was unnerving because I go to sleep that way and I'd wake up that way. And it was, what is going on? And I couldn't really suss it out. And it only lasted for like maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks. But it was a fascinating, almost paralyzing thing because it was hard to fall asleep. But I mean, to be able to have almost X-ray vision whenever you close your eyes, to be able to identify every surface and stuff like that, whenever, even though your eyes were closed, it was bizarre. It was like Daredevil. You ever see that movie Daredevil, where he hits something and he gets the picture? It was like that, but it was way clearer. It was amazing.
Wow.
I get so there's times, and I'll preface it by saying that I'm not really like trying to remote view or to astral project or anything like that. But there are times where I do lay down. I may not necessarily be super tired, and I will close my eyes, but stay awake and try to, I don't know, just kind of yeah, you might want to call it like an odd meditation. Sometimes I'll just like do it to slow my heart rate, or try to, honestly, I mean, it's like I'm doing it on purpose, but I don't really know what the purpose is. It's not like I'm attempting to do something. And when that happens, I many times, most times, will start to see faces that kind of come out of nothing. They're not super bright. I mean, I'm in a dark world because my eyes are shut. But I start to see faces, and they morph. They're like, it's like constantly changing. I get one specific face for long enough to not recognize it because it's not anybody I know, but you get a pretty vivid image of this face, but it's always continuing to move and change. And then there's times where they start to become grotesque, and there's times where they start to become oddly innocent looking, but there's an odd weirdness to it. It's just I mean, I have no idea what that's about. I don't know if that's just your brain relaxing and starting to put together, because if you close your eyes and you basically keep your eyes looking at the inside of your lids, you're going to get little flashes of light, little sparks, little, hints of this and that, glows and stuff like that. But yeah, it's happened a number of times where I just get this like, and it's not necessarily like set front and center of me. It can be, excuse me, it can, to say you're using your peripheral vision while your eyes are closed kind of sounds like you can't, but it would be like over here, and I'm not seeing it directly, but I'm seeing it clear enough to recognize that it is constantly changing and morphing into something. I mean, grotesque is not a stretch to say that those faces get pretty freaking weird. I don't ever really have any feeling that accompanies it, other than I wonder why my brain is prone to going to that multiple times, rather than, why am I not seeing a car morph into a sailboat, into something else? Why is it always a face? But I don't know. That's kind of weird.
Yeah. That's interesting. That's very similar to how I see that as well. That's how I perceive it as well, like that.
That happens quite a bit to me too. It's that weird, that's like pareidolia with your eyes closed. It's bizarre. It's a bizarre sensation.
Yeah. What's weird is that sometimes when I'm getting it recently, it's definitely different recently for me, where it's like a clear face comes up. And I don't know who the person is. I don't know. It can be a man, a woman. It changes as well. Like Eric was saying, it morphs into new. And sometimes as well, it can be something grotesque and then it looks horrible or whatever. And other times it's just a normal woman can come up, or a normal man. And I don't know who it is. It's very weird. And a lot of the time it's happened recently, I've sort of been relaxed and it sort of makes me jump because it's so clear.
Yeah, my mom gets that, Tommy, where she says it almost looks like a old film screen pops up, and like it's showing her almost like a movie in slow-mo. Or like the very, very old films, like back in the silent days, where it would just suddenly like switch to a new scene,
Bad
and it's
switch
very
cuts,
abrupt. Yeah, but like not fluid how we would do it now,
Yeah,
but
right.
almost
Switch
like
cut,
with a
yeah.
gap in between of like, oh, you're going to see something else.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, honestly, I get that even during meditations, the face thing, Eric, like you were saying, and you, Tommy, as well. They'll come up and then some of them will distort and get really ugly, and some of them will come up and then they'll change to something else. So yeah.
I've had a couple approach me like similar to what you said, watching a movie screen, but they'll start a conversation, they'll reach out to shake my hand, and then they go wharfy and weird and stuff like that. It's like, well, okay, that's not cool.
I don't recall like shoulders, hands, arms, full bodies, anything. Everything for me is always very much centralized around the face.
That's interesting. I see the whole top of the body, if not the whole body sometimes.
And this may be a clue to it as well, because like I am very prone to seeing things in abstract shapes. So
how so?
Like so say take a tile on like the floor, like a linoleum tile, or like a tile in your kitchen floor, or maybe in your kitchen or your bathroom floor. If there's like just an abstract color, that marbling or whatever that looks like it goes through it, I will have moments where I kind of check out.
I know what you mean.
And I'm looking at, and I'm seeing like the shape of for example, like the outline of the silhouette of a face, or I'll see, and I'm very artistic in my nature. So I don't know if that's something that I'm always looking for, subconsciously looking for something to put it together. I mean, I understand pareidolia is a very powerful thing, and your brain wants to replace the absence of something with something that makes sense. So it's not unlikely that it could be that, but I find it strange that it's been throughout my life that
me too.
I will like see a pattern, and sometimes I check out, and I kind of zone into that, and I see things. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I see dead people or I see aliens or something in the tile. That's not what I'm saying.
Come on,
but
man.
Aliens in the Tile. That's my next movie.
Aliens in the Tile. A linoleum horror story.
Linoleum is horrible, but no, Eric, I have the same thing. So at my mom's house, there's very old wallpaper in one of the bathrooms, and it's a very intricate pattern, right? But it repeats. And I had this intense experience forever ago, in which it kind of like you, like I was sitting in there and I just kind of zoned out, and I could feel spirit talking to me, and I wasn't quite understanding it. And literally the pattern started changing to like show what it was saying. And after that experience, obviously I did what I had to do after that experience, like go write it down and whatever I was asked to do. And then the next time I went over there, I went to go look at the pattern in order to see, could I replicate that? Nothing. Wasn't able to.
It's interesting.
Wasn't there.
I'm boring because I've never ever encountered anything like that.
Well, Pat, Kat, you just need to look at more linoleum.
Yeah,
and
maybe.
wallpaper.
Or stucco walls or something.
Linoleum. Coming to the theater New Year.
This is a spooky season. Linoleum. Scary.
The horror of linoleum.
It's dirty. It's white. Which is it?
Get out your mop. Clean the grout.
It's in the linoleum. Oh man, that's great. That's too funny.
You guys are a hoot.
So what
This
do you
episode brought to you by Marble.
Well, speaking of marble, that the pattern thing that happened to me, it's happened to me several times throughout my life where you're, like you said, in the kitchen, in the bathroom, whatever, but it's marbleish, right?
Right.
What's happened to me is the darker parts have separated from the white parts almost three-dimensionally.
I've had that happen myself. I was just I knew you were gonna say that. Now, like, yep, I have. It's like the darker part is floating above
Right.
That
was
Like an
it's
acid
gotta be some kind of an optical illusion, that you're
Yeah.
focusing on one thing more than the other.
Right.
But,
And
Has
I
any-
think it does. I'm sorry. Go ahead,
It's
Kat.
okay. Have any one of you ever done acid? Because it sounds like an acid trip.
yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I haven't anyway.
Yeah, what state was we in?
no, I am. I have been very against the drug usage for all 58 of my years. So
Yeah, same.
that is not something I dabble in.
So when
I tried the marijuana once, and it
The
was a horrible
marijuana.
experience. It was the
tried
worst
the
experience of my life. I
marijuana.
vomited so hard, it was gross.
You know, we're all over the age of 35 when we put the before the name.
The Facebook.
the
I
marijuana.
saw it on the Facebook.
Is that what you were laughing at? That's funny.
I read it on the Twitter.
You gotta say .com.
I've never actually done any drugs or anything like that. I alcohol, beers, yeah, a lot of that, but never touched any drugs. But I'm hearing a lot of people talking about mushrooms and the trips that they have, and it sounds quite interesting.
Does very much
I've
so.
never done that.
If I had the balls to do it, one of the things that I think I would like to experience would be either DMT or ayahuasca.
I don't even know what any of that is.
And I would never do it. But I've read enough that there seems to be a significant reset that happens to people that partake in that, and their experiences, whether it be DMT or ayahuasca individually, their experiences are extremely repeatable with whoever does that. They all seem to see the same types of light energy beings. They all have the same experiences of feeling very welcomed into this bizarrely colorful and geometric world. They feel like they're being greeted by people that know them deeply and intimately. So that's something that is very interesting to me. I would never have the balls to do that, because I would be the one that would end up having the really bad trip and come out of it drooling with a cup duct tape to the side of my chin for the rest of my life. I'm not willing
Don't
to do
recommend.
that.
I've spoken to people that have had that experience, and it's changed their life. They changed how they see the world. And I'm like, that sounds.
Well, DMT is something that our brains make naturally.
Mhm.
So if you're a very vivid dreamer, like myself, I don't just have dreams. I have epic sagas that Spielberg would probably check out at some point. I used to bore my mom with them. She's like, how is this dream still going on? It's been 2 hours. So you can actually work on making more in your brain. There are actual, sober activities you can do in order to increase it. Ayahuasca, on the other hand, it is a whole different thing. It's actually a type of poison, just like mushrooms.
I was
Mhm.
going to say
And
it's a plant-based, right?
Yeah.
it is. It's a very eclectic mixture of plants which involve a poison, which mushrooms do the same thing. Basically, you're slowly poisoning your body, and then you go into this whole kind of head trip. But the issue with ayahuasca that I found recently, never done it, don't want to, is if you're not in a place that's energetically safe and you don't have, I knew someone who had a really, really bad experience. They were in a conference room. There was supposedly a shaman, there was security looking over everyone, and everyone else apparently had this amazing journey except for this one person. And they had to not only remove them from the facility, they had to put them basically in a padded room for 3 days,
Wow.
strapped down because of how physical this person got.
Wow.
So, just because it sounds like a cool thing to do, and there's a shaman named whatever there, don't always recommend. Some things I think aren't meant for everyone.
Right.
Well, I met at the very first conference that I ever vended at, in support of the show. Excuse me. I had a gentleman and his wife come up to me, and he was very nice, but when he walked up, he was kind of there was almost a smugness to the look. He was like, like trying to figure out what my booth was, and finally I told him it was a podcast about all high strangeness, and it was actually at a Bigfoot conference, and he had an interest in Bigfoot, but he started to tell me that he had done ayahuasca, and I was like, oh wow, that's really interesting. And I had just watched I think it was a documentary on Prime about the use of DMT and those types of trips. And so I was really interested in talking to him, and we kind of got into it, and it was like what you said, Tommy, it was a life-changing experience for him. He came out of it with for himself, a much clearer understanding of his relationship with our creator. And, it was an incredibly blissful experience for him. He went down to Florida. There was some kind of a resort or retreat that you could, I don't think it was like readily publicly available to, like, hey, go to our website and come down here and go on an ayahuasca trip. I don't know that it's illegal, but he was able to go down there. He went down there with his wife, and it was a 3 or 4 day ordeal. And you go down there and you sit through, a lot of coaching seminars and stuff, where you're told what you can expect and how it's going to react with your body, because ayahuasca, part of ingesting it, you get extremely sick. But overall, the experience was fantastic for him. And I'm like, dude, I want to get you on the show. I want you to talk to people about this. And he's like, no, I'm not going to do that. And I'm like, why not? And he's like, because the dude that was beside me, his trip was horrible. He said he came out of it just a mess. And he's like, I can't take the responsibility on my shoulders of going on and telling people how wonderful it was for me, and have somebody decide to do that for themselves based on what I said, because the guy that was beside me did not fare well. So,
I'm glad he took responsibility for that, because a lot of people don't. They have good trips and then they want to tell everyone you should do it, without understanding that not everyone's built to withstand that psychologically. as well as physically, different bodies, different reactions. But, I'm very anti-drug, and, we come in with a spiritual web. And when you do drugs and even alcohol and certain other things in life, it starts ripping that web away. And I know one person who did a ton of hallucinogens, and I mean, their web was so ripped that there was stuff jumping in and out all the time. It didn't matter how many extractions or how much energy protection work, etc. It was constant.
Wild.
Don't do drugs, kids.
Yeah.
This got real serious.
Happy Halloween. Don't do drugs.
That's all, folks. It's interesting, though. It's because when you talk to people and they go to these places and they come across other entities and stuff, are they really going somewhere else? That's the question. Are they really? And I just find it fascinating.
My friend did a sweat. He went to one of the Ohlone tribe near here. He went to a sweat, did a sweat lodge, and he had a weird experience. He says, I was on a bad, or not a bad trip, but I was on a trip without being on anything. And it was just because the intense heat and the chanting and all that stuff just got him into that zone. Yeah. And he said he talked to, I think it was his uncle, his Tio, and he who had been dead for years. And he says, I just had this great conversation with him, and I realized how much I missed him because he was kind of a bad dude, in life. Some, I don't know, motorcycle gang guy or something like that. And he was not very well liked in the family. In fact, everyone said, stay away from this guy. He's your Tio and he's family and all that. Yeah, but I mean, he's just a bad dude in general. And but he got to talk to his Tio, and I guess as his ghost or spirit, at least in this sweat experience. And he says he regretted never talking to his Tio in real life, because he says, I knew there was more to the man than what I was told. And the sweat just kind of proved that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are sober and sane ways that you can do things. I mean, meditation is one. If sweat lodges, obviously you have to be extremely careful and be with, people who actually know what they're doing, because there was that horrible thing that happened some years ago with people who didn't know what they were doing. But yeah, I mean, the DMT thing, honestly, it is worth something. Like, if you're not a dreamer, or if you don't dream at all or don't remember your dreams, start writing them down. And there are mental activities you can do to actually boost natural DMT production.
Well, on that note, that may be a cue for me to tell my story.
Awesome.
Please do. Yes.
Okay, so vivid dream. This is what happened 2 days ago. I woke up. It was a Sunday morning or Monday morning. Now I can't recall. But I came out of what was under. It wasn't banal because some weird shit happened in the dream. But what happened was, I was laid off. And now that's the only reality. I was just laid off from my job, not to pull heartstrings or get sympathy or anything, but that's what happened. So, and I was down on my luck, and I had one person to turn to. And it was this guy I hadn't even thought about in 1,000 years. We went to college together and we barely knew each other, but I went to his house and said, hey, I need a place to crash. And he says, yeah, okay, come on in. Now, he had 2 roommates with him, and all 3 of them worked at the same office. And every night they get drunk and sing karaoke for some reason. But it wasn't just like 70s and 80s songs. They were doing heavy metal songs and all that fun stuff. They were really rocking, just pissing off the neighborhood in general. I'm not much of a party guy, so I hang outside. and another temporary stay joins me. And it's this beautiful woman, brunette, and she kind of reminded me of a mix between like Megan Fox and that chick from that 70s show married Ashton Kutcher.
Mila Kunis.
Thank you.
Mila Kunis.
Mila Kunis. So join those two together and you're pretty much in the ballpark. And we got to talk, and we were both down on our luck, and she was on her last dollar, basically, when her bike broke down, and she was able to make it as far as this house. So she's been here. She's doing a part-time job trying to save up. We get to talking, things go well. Finally, everything calms down, and we ended up together. Middle of the night, bam, 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 on my door. And it's this guy, this friend, old friend of mine from college. Again, not really a friend, more of a close acquaintance, we'll call it. But anyway, he says, "Did you hear that?" "No, what are you talking about? It sounds like something hit the side of the house. You got to come outside. Help me look around." I do. Okay, sure. I'm a guest here. I'll help out. And now I should lay out what this house looks like. It's a trash fire waiting to happen. It really is. It's a dumpster. It's horrible. It's like a junkyard, parts of cars everywhere, outside the house and inside the house. So it's a ramshackle piece of shit. This guy does not care about a security deposit. So among the piles of junk inside, I grab a baseball bat and we both head outside. And the junk, or at least one section of it, is toppled. Something weird has happened. And there's this rusty transformer. And I don't mean the robot. I mean like the power distribution system. And it has a little red light on it still. There's still a charge in there. And next to it is a broom. And it's just floating there, ever so slightly off the ground.
She's a witch.
Very Halloween appropriate. So the broom's just floating there, and I said, "You're kidding me." So I pick it up, and it starts to jerk out of my hand, and I said, "Whoa, take it easy, take it easy." I'm talking to a broom, but like it's a spooked horse, and the thing calms down, just rests in my hand. And I don't really think anything of it for whatever reason. I'm totally fine with this broom fly off on its own. So we look around, and no sooner do I find this broom than the cops show up, and all the neighbors start piling out of their houses because the cops made they came in code 3, lights and sirens and everything, and start blaming Christian for the commotion because apparently everybody heard this crash that I did not hear for whatever reason. And they blame Christian, and everybody says, "No, it's he's the ruckus, he's the problem. All him and his friends are all horrible people." Well, lo and behold, we all get slapped with disturbing the peace. And we have court dates coming up all of a sudden. But I got this broom, so I quietly sneak the broom back into the house, and I'm laid off. I don't have a job. These 3 guys, my acquaintance and his 2 roommates, are up the next morning, and they're out of the house in suits at their office like they don't know what a hangover is. A little jealous of that, but there. And then this girl, her name was Elise in the dream, leaves too. She has a part-time job, and I'm left alone with the broom. And it takes me a day, maybe 2, to really figure out the broom, and I can fly it. It's a flying broom. I can ride it. I know, I'm laughing too, just telling the story. And and I get really good at it. I can go pretty high, and I fly around during the daytime when no one's home. Because it doesn't matter, because no one's home. The neighborhood's all at work, or at school. So I'm zipping up and down the street, learning how the broom works and all that fun stuff. And I get pretty good at it. Elise and I, and it's weird. This weird little time lapse happens in the dream. Elise and I get closer and closer and closer. We're, more than just buddies now. We're getting serious. And we have a heart-to-heart one night, Elise and I, and she says, I got to get out of here. I can't stand these guys. They keep me up most nights, and they're always trying to hit on me, yada, 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 yada. I was like, yeah, okay, I get it. So where were you going? She says, as far as my bike could take me, but then it broke down here. I was like, okay. I'll keep that in the back of my head. If I find a solution, just car parts everywhere, maybe I can figure it out. And she says, well, we'll figure that out. So it's another day. And I'm cruising around on the broom again. And I'm noticing something. The flowers on all these little gardens along the walkways of these homes in this neighborhood. We were at the end of a cul-de-sac, by the way. They're growing in a very weird, very distinct pattern. If you have a garden, if our neighbor has a garden along the walkway up to the front door, for example, the flowers are popping up in very equidistant segments along this pathway, and the blooms are pointing toward the sidewalk. They're not following the sun. They're like little tiny, I don't know, something that they're aimed at where the people go, basically, on all of the houses. Those who let their gardens go, kind of like my friend's house. His house is not the only one who has this, but it's not as popular an option. But they have, if you know what a pitcher plant is, basically a big overgrown tulip. It's kind of long, bowl-like, cylindrical, growing out of the gutter over the garage, and it's growing with the open portion of that pitcher plant toward the garage, like a waiting cannon. And all the plant life in the neighborhood is doing this. They all seem to be poised for an attack of some sort. No wiggly vines or anything. It's like something's going to happen with these blooms. And I'm concerned about this, but it kind of goes in the back of my mind. Anyway, so I land just before Elise comes home. I still haven't told anyone about the broom. Somehow I've managed to keep my secret, even though I'm flying around during the day. And which is fucking cool, I must admit. Pardon my French. But I look at
French
the
word.
French word. Correct me if I'm wrong, Kat. Yeah, thank you. I must have got it right. So I look at the old transformer where I found the broom, and the light's still on. They're still charging this thing. And I'm thinking, well, the transformer and the broom have a weird relationship. So I unscrew the little red light. It's an incandescent light. They're not incandescent in reality, but for whatever reason, this one is a little incandescent light. I unscrew it, it stays lit. And I cruise over to Elise's motorcycle covered up by a tarp, and it's seen better days. And notice her tail light is completely gone, but the socket's still there. So I screw the light into the socket, and the bike electrics just come to life. I go over, I start it up, and it runs clean. Oh, it's ready to go. Even though the fuel gauge reads empty, somehow it just doesn't matter. So I fixed her bike, and we can leave. We live happily ever after or whatever. So I unscrew the light bulb, I put it back in the transformer, and I wait for her to come home. Now I have two fun things to tell her. One, I got a flying broom, and two, I fixed her motorcycle. I tell her about the flying broom. She calls bullshit right away. Again, part of my French. But she said, prove it. So I prove it. I levitated on the broom. I said, you want to go for a ride? Hell yeah, I want to go for a ride. And we take off, and she gets scared immediately. We're flying too high, we're flying too fast. Yeah. So I circle back around my land. I said, well, I have another thing for you. And I show her the light bulb. I plug it into her motorcycle. Motorcycle comes to life. She's ecstatic. We are going to leave. We are going to go live a life together. And again, I said for safekeeping, we'll just keep it in the transformer just for now. She says, okay, that's probably smart. The rest of the house gets home that night, and usual thing, karaoke and drinking. We're in the mood to celebrate. We're going to take off. And it's we're kind of having one of the guys makes a concoction, and we don't really see what he's putting in it, but they're in those super large glasses that they almost look like fish bowls, but they've got the stem and everything. You know what I'm talking about? I don't know the names of those particular containers, but so he's mixing a few things in there. He's kind of giggling throughout the whole time making it. I says, "What is this?" And he says, I call it lemonade, special lemonade." Okay, what's in it? A little bit of seltzer water, a little bit of lemon liqueur, and no, that's it. And we're all kind of testing it. It's zesty and sweet like lemonade. And then everyone in the room gets a couple of gulps in, and Molly, we all spit take. Molly, yes, good times. We all have court dates coming up. We're going to be rocked out on Molly. No thanks. So argument ensues. We're not, what are you doing pushing this stuff here? Yada, yada. In the interim, this loose acquaintance of mine who owns the house, I have a feeling, am I too loud on the mic? He pulls Elise aside, and they start a little conversation. This is kind of at the corner of my eye, but I'm paying attention. And she kind of cocks her head funny. It's like, no, I can't now. And then walks away, and he stops her. He gets a little violent with her. And he grabs her arms, and she yanks herself away and storms off into a room at the other end of the house. And then he charges at me out of nowhere and says, "You took her away from me." They were not together in the dream. And I said, "Whoa, you weren't with her at all." And we start arguing. Next thing, Elise walks out of the house, and she's carrying a suitcase, and she has her biker leathers on with her helmet. And she sees us arguing, puts the suitcases down, walks up to my friend and headbutts him with the helmet. He goes down like a sack of whatever, bricks. He goes down, bloody nose, the whole thing. His two friends are so drunk they think it's entertaining. Yeah, oh, look at that. And we walk out of the house. I grab the light bulb. I screw the light bulb into the bike. I ride in the back. The broom. I forgot about the broom. And I looked at the broom, and suddenly it comes flying at me, and it I bumped the mic. I'm so sorry. It comes flying at me and hits me in the face, and like it sticks there. Like it's magnetized or something. I said, "It's okay, buddy. We didn't forget about you." And I put it on my back, and it sticks there anyway. And we hop on the bike, we drive off, and I wake up right at that moment. And that is my exceptionally long, almost Halloween story. I got another one if you don't like that.
That sounded like an acid trip.
Yeah.
No,
Someone's producing enough DMT in their brain.
That's a dream, man.
That was a dream. And, it was just weird. Strange dream.
Every once in a while, I kept forgetting it was a dream.
I mean, it sounds amazing. The broom, the karaoke every night. Oh, it sounds brilliant.
I should write that up as a script or something.
Yeah, man.
It's like Thor's hammer, Tim's broom.
Right?
Was it different to a normal dream? Did that stand out to you? Because did it feel so real?
It was surprisingly real. I mean, because it echoed moments in my life too, because the layoff and all that fun stuff. But nothing fun about that. But there was, so these real elements. The guy I knew from college. I mean, it didn't strike me as weird that I ran into him, or that his house was a complete sty. I was like, I knew you would end up at a place like this. That kind of thing. So there were elements in it that just felt too real. The fact that I got the pretty girl, that always happens. I'm kidding.
Yes, sir.
But it was I always love flying dreams. I don't have them often at all, but when I got to fly the broom, that was probably the best thing in the world. That was just too much fun.
The friend that your college friend, do you know where he is now? Like,
I don't.
It'd be interesting to see if you see him or something like that in the next few days, because that'd be weird.
You beat me to it, Tommy. I was going to ask if you'd
That
seen him
happens.
recently. Yeah.
Lois,
if you see him, you have to let us know.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll ask him if he lives in a junkyard of a house.
Track him down on Facebook or something. Lois does that. Lois does that. My wife, she'll have a dream and she'll be like, I dreamt about such and such. And then a couple of days later, we'll hear from them or we might see them. It's so weird. She has a lot of dreams like that.
It'd be super random if I ran into this guy, because we were friendly to each other. We weren't friends at all. Not even though we were in the same conservatory. I mean, we had a couple of scenes together. I directed him one thing once, and that's really about it. I mean, we weren't tight, close at all.
Am I the only one who really, really wants you to meet him now?
Yeah.
I really wanted to have
Let me look him up on Facebook.
We got to find him. Get him on the show.
I know everyone's tripping about that. I don't know why. The flowers
freaked me out.
Pointed in the direction of where the people energy is the biggest part that stood out to me, besides the flying broom, which is amazing.
I kept thinking of a Star Trek episode.
They hit you and boom. Yeah. It's amazing.
And Spock has feelings all of a sudden.
Yeah. Oh, there was the other one too, on the planet with all the natives, and that you get hit
that
with
one.
Yeah. They had a couple of planets that did that.
It's interesting when you have dreams like that just, I don't know, we all have dreams that it just seems to go on for forever, and then you wake up and you're like, man, and you might have only been asleep for an hour, and you're like, I've just dreamt the whole. It
was bizarre. I've had a few of those type of dreams happen in the past. I wouldn't say it happens every day, but it happens, I don't know, on average, maybe every 4, 5, 6 months. I'll have an epic dream. I'm also aware of the fact that I've had repeating dreams, and they seem to pick up where I left off before, which is really fun. It's really fun. And I've written a few of those down, but I don't know if they're turning into cohesive stories or not.
How do you feel when you wake up?
I rode off with the pretty girl. I was very happy. I got the girl, so it was cool. But the flowers freaked me out too. The flowers that was so bizarre too. And they were different breeds too, but they were all behaving in this really bizarre way, where they were facing like sidewalks or where the car exits from the garage. And I had
a little red light thing is weird.
Yeah, the old 50s transformer, it was rusted all hell and had a little red light, a little incandescent light on it, which I don't think they had back then. Or maybe they did, I don't know. But that was bizarre.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Dreams can be weird, man.
I have another experience. I don't know if I've ever told anyone this, but so if you don't like the dream, I got another one on reserve. Just let me know. Is it time for JJ?
It can be, yeah.
Or yours and Erick's together?
No, mine is separate from him. Okay. But when he says his, he'll guide me when to chime in, because obviously I was there when that incident happened. So the incident I'm going to talk about, I really wanted to bring something that I haven't talked about before publicly, because I feel like, whether it's on my channel or on, your all different shows, like I don't like to repeat myself, because I don't know, I find that boring for myself. So this is something I know I haven't gone into great detail with. This is actually when my husband and I pretty much first were together. So we were really, really new. So obviously, I know you do. So obviously I do what I do, right? And a friend of mine had called me, and her son, who was about 3 at the time, was waking up with night terrors. And obviously anything that affects kids really disturbs me and bothers me. And it had been more than just 1 or 2 nights. He was describing this man, and it was extremely vivid. He was getting up, he wouldn't sleep in his bed. And I think it had been like 2 or 3 weeks. So she asked if I would come over and just kind of do a clearing on the room and just check everything out. So I did. Now, at the time, my husband and I, we were still very early, and he kind of knew a little of what I did, but not fully, right? And I didn't feel the need to share what I was doing with him because we didn't see each other every day in the beginning. And so I went over, I basically did the clearing, and saw and felt this very ugly man who wore a leather jacket, had a bald head. He was just disturbing this little boy, and kind of got rid of it and did what I could. There was one part that I missed though, which was completely clearing and watching my back when I left. So I know this sounds kind of odd, but when you go to a clearing, the way that you drive or how you get there, when you leave, you take another route. You don't go out the same way you went in. I know it sounds odd. It's just, even if it's one little street turn that you take different, in order to kind of like lose the tail type of thing, right? So for whatever reason, it was late. It was a work night for me, right? Like I had to be up early, and that was the one part that I forgot. Never mentioned it. And went to work the next day, and my friend calls me and she goes, "Hey, it kind of worked, but you know, he's still uncomfortable in his room." And I was like, "Give it a couple days, you know?" So end up seeing my boyfriend at the time, who is now my husband, and again, never say anything to him. So we had gotten together that night, hung out, left, again, work day, middle of the week. So the next day, I'm at work and my friend calls me and she goes, "Hey, like something's wrong." And I'm like, "Okay, well, again, like it's a work day. Let's give it another day or two. We'll see what I can do remotely." And she's like, "Okay." So that night, I go home and I'm basically praying and doing some remote work over the little boy's room. And then my now husband comes over for the evening and we're hanging out. I say nothing to him. It's not his business. Don't involve people in what I do, right? Like I pretty much keep things quiet unless it needs to be talked about for whatever reason. So we go to bed for the night, and he's a very sound sleeper. He's one of those people who can literally like put their head on the pillow and he's out. I am not. So I finally get to sleep, 2 hours later. And all of a sudden, in the middle of the night, I am awake, like to the point where I physically sit up in bed. And I'm like, what's woken me up? And I look at him and he's snoring. He's out, right? And I look over, and out of the bathroom comes that spirit entity man that was from the little boy. And he's in my physical room. And I go into attack mode. Now, I physically get out of bed and I physically take him by the neck and drag him down the stairs. I open up the front door. I physically walk outside and take him to the edge of the property and kick his patootie out. And then I also not only banish him from my property, but also from the little boys. And the whole time he's kicking and screaming and, saying all sorts of nasty things to me. But I am physically doing this. Yes, it's a spirit, but like I am physically walking, getting up, going outside, opening the door, taking him all the way to the curb of the property and releasing, banishing, doing the whole thing. At this point, I'm worried, have I disturbed him while he's sleeping? but can't be bothered, lock the house up, turn all the lights off, creep upstairs. He's still sound asleep. So I get into bed and I'm like, okay, good. I didn't wake him up. Everything's good, because, who in a brand new relationship wants to explain, sorry, I had to take this like nasty entity outside. So I lay down and, get in position to kind of go back to sleep. But I'm thinking like, holy crap, how did that happen? And I do the math in my head and I'm like, oh, that's how he chased me back to my house. I messed up, my bad. And within 5 minutes, my now husband, in his sleep, starts whimpering. But like, it's almost like he's trying to yell, but he's asleep. And so it's muffled. And it's like, and he starts kicking. And he's laying towards, like, he's facing me. And he starts kicking so hard that I realize he's going to physically hurt me if I don't wake him up and stop him. So I start shaking him and I'm like, wake up. You're in a dream. Wake up. And it takes about 30 seconds. And all of a sudden he wakes up and he sits up like a lightning bolt. And he looks around and he goes, what the hell? And I go, are you okay? Like, what just happened? And he goes, oh my God, that was like such a vivid dream. And I said, okay, go ahead, tell me about it. Like, what just happened? And he said, I dreamt we were asleep. And all of a sudden, this man in this leather jacket with a bald head came out of the bathroom. And he was carrying a pallet of vegetables for some reason. I don't know why. And my husband basically in the dream was like, who the bleep are you? And went into, fight or flight mode, because he was like, I don't know this dude, and why are you here while we're sleeping? And instantly got up and they started fighting. They started fist fighting. And they basically had each other by the nape of the neck. And we're doing that circle thing that guys tend to do, and go all the way down the stairs. And my husband opens the front door and gets the advantage on him and shoves him outside, takes him to the property line where there's kind of a curve, and then basically starts taking him to 6 ways from Sunday at the curb.
The word you used was curb stomp.
Yeah, I just didn't want to use that word because it's freaking awful. Thank you, American Me, for that horrific visual.
It's not as bad as teabag.
Thank you for lightening in the mood. Yeah, definitely not as bad as that. So apparently in this dream, while he's, whipping him 6 ways from Sunday on the curb, he gets a glimpse and turns around and sees me at the front door, completely illuminated in white, like as if the whole background of the house is lit up in the most bright white light you can see. And I'm holding a little boy's hand, and the little boy is nodding his head. And that makes him stop with the man. And then I wake him up. So when in real life, when he's kicking in the dream, he was kicking this guy while he was on the curb. So he tells me this, and I'm kind of quiet. And I'm like, well, that's a really awful dream. I don't tell him what happened. Okay. Because again, not ready to share that part of my life. Like, it's still relatively new and I'm trying not to chase him off.
And how would you explain that to him?
Well, yeah, there was a lot of stuff that happened early in our relationship that was really weird on my end. And I didn't want it to come across as like me trying to, play games spiritually in order like to make more of us than there was. It was still very new, right? We're still in that whole like, do you really like me phase, right? All that stuff. So okay, I kind of just listened to his dream. Wow, that's really weird. In my head, I'm thinking, oh my God, like, what are the odds, right? He described him exactly as I saw him. He literally did the same path that I did. What are the chances? But okay, I can still write things off as maybe he sensed me get up and leave and heard the door open, whatever. So the next day I go to work and I get a call around noon from my friend, and she was like, girl, like, it's bad. Like, I need you to come over tonight. I'm sorry. I know it's a work night. I know it's late for you, but I need you to come. Like, something happened last night. My kid won't talk about it, but like, it's bad. And he's 3, right? So like, he can talk, but at the same time, he's not giving a lecture. But apparently, like, her kid won't even speak. Like, he's freaked out. So I said, you know what? No problem. When I get off work, I'm just going to come directly to your place. And I did not have plans that night at all to do anything. I was just going to go home, go to sleep. I wasn't supposed to see my, now husband or anything, because we'd already seen each other. So I kind of go about my day. I'm sitting there and, energetically getting prepared and still finishing out my work day. And about 2 hours before I get off work, my husband calls me, which he never did because I worked. So it was like, normally he would text and be like, oh, if you can talk, go take a break. But he called me, which was odd. So I pick up the phone and he's like, hey, what are you doing right now? I'm like, well, I'm working. That's an odd question. And he goes, yeah, I know this is really forward of me, but like, I'm on my way to your office. Can we hang out tonight? And I'm thinking, okay, well, this conversation apparently is meant to happen, because he's never come to my office before, let alone just been forward like that. Like, it's weird. The whole thing is weird. And I said, yeah, that's fine. You and I need to have a conversation, because I actually have to go somewhere after work. You're going to come with me, and this involves your dream. And he's like, okay. So he shows up. I get off work. I basically, we get in the car and I'm like, this is where we're going. The dream you had. Here's the backstory. Explain the whole backstory of it. We arrive at my friend's house. He is a little shaken up about it, but at the same time, oddly calm, which, is probably why we ended up married, right? So, now to set up this child is 3. This child is sweet, but extremely spoiled. And at 3 years old, because he's spoiled, he's not really interested in adults. So even though I'm extremely close and he'll kind of say hi, like, he doesn't take a shining to adults. Unless you're a kid or you have a toy, he really doesn't want much to do with you. When it comes to other men, especially, it's like daddy only, right? Like, dad's friends come over, he'll hide almost from most men. So it's kind of like a known thing. So I had warned him in advance, like, hey, just letting you know, like, I'm just going to have to go in and take care of this, but don't take it personally if this kid basically ignores you, because that's what he does to men, especially. So we walk in the house and, I say hi to the kid, doesn't even look up. And my husband walks in behind me, takes one step into the living room, and the kid's head swivels real quick and looks at him and goes, hi, and runs up, grabs his hand and says, I want to show you my room. And so my friend and I look at each other, because we're like, what is happening? Like, he's a complete stranger. I haven't even introduced him to my friend, let alone her kid. And, some people are kid people, but this is odd. And so up they go to the kid's room, and he's kind of looking at me like, okay, I guess I'm going to go see this kid's room. And so immediately, like, I start following up, but I kind of post out in the hallway just to kind of hear what the kid's saying. And I hear the kid say, oh, this is my toy, and this is my toy. And so I just start to stick my head in the room. And the kid opens the closet door, which is where this man kept coming out of, by the way. And then he grabs my husband's hand, and I'm visually seeing this now. He looks at him and he goes, thank you for taking care of the man last night.
No way.
Whoa.
That's a good story.
That's
Getting
wild.
goosebumps, man.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty. When she first told me that was pretty impressive.
Wow.
Yeah,
Is your husband psychic in any way at all?
he is. He
Yeah.
won't talk about it very much. He's very selective.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's had a ton of experiences in his childhood, especially, but there'll be times when I've come home from, Tim knows this because there was one time we had done like an investigation and I had cleared and thought I did everything right. But it was a pretty heavy night. And I came home and I walked up the front step, just about to put my second step on the threshold of the door. And he immediately opens the door and says, "Get on the grass right now and go clear yourself." And I was like, okay. So he
Wow.
knows things, but it's not like, if you were to go up and meet him and ask him, maybe he'd say something, but for the most part, he's not sitting there like I am.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's
so
amazing.
that was a very shared experience. And like I said, we were so new that I wasn't sharing that part of myself as much. So yeah, totally verifiable.
Meant to be.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's very
Wild.
impressive.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
that's crazy.
batter's up, Eric.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear this.
I set the stage, bud.
Okay. So I'm going to preface this by saying this is very fresh and still very raw. And I have not gotten through this in its entirety without kind of losing it again. So if I do, forgive me. I checked with JJ at the beginning of this recording. I sent her a message and I asked if she had protected this this encounter with you guys, because I'm not 100% sure that everything is gone.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe no, maybe you don't. I host for the last 2 Septembers, I've hosted a Bigfoot conference. I love all high strangeness, but I have an affinity for Bigfoot. And it just so happens that about 30 miles north of me, there was a Bigfoot sighting back in 1964 that got a lot of national attention. And that small town and that community still embraces the sightings from that summer of 1964. And because of the opportunities that have been afforded to me by being a host of a podcast, I was able to put together this conference last year. It was successful and it was a lot of fun and it was a great day. And we made enough money to roll over into this year, where it made it a little bit easier to secure a couple of speakers and have them come in from out of state. And so we did that, and that took place this past Saturday, the 9th of September. And so, knowing JJ as well as I've gotten to know her, how long's it been? It's been a year?
A little over a year, yeah.
A little over a year. We talk to each other a lot over the phone. We have a lot of text messages. And she's just become a wonderful friend. But I have developed a habit of doing a small bubbling, if that's what you want to call it, or a small protection thing that I do for myself before I do an interview, just to ward off any nastiness or unpleasant creepy crawlies, whatever. This was a very busy last week and a half, 2 weeks leading up to the event. I had JJ coming into town on Thursday night. I had another speaker, one of the first speakers coming in on Friday night. Thursday night. And then another speaker coming in on Friday. So, you know, I was multiple trips to the airport, trying to squeeze in time with JJ to hang out, have dinner, and catch up. So, being that this was a Bigfoot event, there was no. Did everybody just see that light above Kat's head?
Yeah, her curtain keeps parting. I think her dog's trying to get to her.
I was like, what the? Are you manifesting a freaking portal above your head or what? Jesus Christ. Okay. So I mean, there was no cause for me to do any kind of a protection for myself, right? I mean, we're going to be talking about Bigfoot. And so I didn't do anything. And even if I had thought about it, I probably would not have done it because of the context of what the situation was going to be. I do a little protection thing whenever I'm going to talk to somebody that I think might have something, you know, that could come out throughout conversation. So, you know, Saturday morning rolls around, we all get there, setting up, everything's stressful, but, you know, all the worry stuff is done. I'm happy. I'm surrounded by people that are my friends, people I love. I've got 2 very close coworkers who are there. I have an inordinate amount of people in the audience who have been, who are listeners of the show and who have been guests on the show. I think I was around the neighborhood of 10 or 12 people who were in the audience or vendors who had been guests on the show. People I was all very comfortable with. And, you know, the lady that I've been seeing, she was there, and I was just in a very good place of comfort. It was a happy day. And, through a strange set of circumstances on Wednesday, I think it was, Tuesday or Wednesday before this, I had gotten a message from Archbishop Christina Rake, who said, hey, I don't understand how it happened, but my weekend happened to open up where I don't have 1,000,001 things to do. So wasn't this the weekend of your Bigfoot thing? And I said, yeah, actually it was. And she goes, oh, thank God, I'm going to get myself tickets and I'm going to come. And I was like, that's fantastic. Well, JJ had just gotten done telling me that her husband was not going to be able to make it. So JJ had an extra ticket for the VIP dinner the night before and a actual general admission ticket for the day of the event. And I said, well, Christina, before you go through all the exercise of, you know, going online and getting the tickets, I said, why don't you talk to JJ, because she's already got a set of tickets that can't be used. And then JJ, in JJ fashion, decides that she's going to donate her 2 tickets from her husband to Archbishop so that she can come and enjoy it kind of on the house, right? She paid for the tickets and just donated them to her. And I said, you know, Archbishop, all you got to do really is, you know, if you're planning on staying overnight, just get yourself a room at the hotel, which we had a discount at. And so she did that. So, you know, she was not going to be there. And then all of a sudden she could come, and then all of a sudden she had free tickets, you know, thanks to JJ. And, you know, it was very exciting. It was wonderful to meet her, and I was thrilled to hear that she was going to come. So the day's going on, and people are coming in, and I was a little bummed because it wasn't quite the turnout that I had expected or that I had last year. it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't as many as I had last year at this point. So I get up and I do my thank yous and my thanking sponsors, and kind of giving a shout out to any of the people that were there that had been on episodes, and people that support me and support the podcast, and the sponsors that have helped get the Bigfoot conference going. And then I hand the mic over to the first speaker, who is Robert Kreider, and is an incredible presenter. The information that he provides is astounding. And the thing is that most podcasts or most conferences don't allot him enough time to do his full and complete presentation, which is about 3 hours. It's long. I mean, it's packed with a lot of really good stuff, but it is long. So I said, let's break it up, do 2 hours. We'll take a little bit of a break, let people get to the vendors, check out all the other different things. And then we'll come back, 25, 30 minutes later, and then you can finish up with the last hour. And so, I was not terribly uptight. I was mingling. I was, talking to people at different tables, chatting with the staff of the brewery there. And I was just, I was just touching base with everybody, seeing if, they're having fun, if the service was good, all these things, that a good host would do. And I got done with that, and I went and I decided to sit down on the corner of a picnic table. And I was just kind of taking it in. I was just, I looked over, and a friend of mine who has a lot of anxiety in social situations, he was there supporting me. And I knew it was a big thing for him, to be there. Not really easy for him, but he was there for me. And, a coworker was running my table, selling my shirts and doing the raffles and stuff. Absolutely love her. Actually, that's who I was with before I came on here, kind of doing a recap of how Saturday went. And, then the lady that I'm seeing, she was there, a couple of rows over. I got JJ sitting there, Jess from my Discord. She's with JJ. It was just, my kids were there. It was just a very, I was having a moment of I felt a lot of love. And I was just kind of reeling in it, it was a heartwarming thing. And I just really wasn't thinking about anything other than how good it felt to know that you got that many people in your life that support you. And like, out of the corner of my eye, I see Jess from JJ's table. Now, JJ had got up to go walk outside the area beyond the fence to have a cigarette. And Jess was watching her table, but she was actually having a conversation with another woman at the booth beside her, when they were interrupted by this girl who was there by herself. And they were talking about experiences, and this girl just kind of interrupted and says, "I've had experiences too." And I guess she went on to...
One important note.
Yeah, go ahead.
One important note. The experiences they were talking about, because the vendor had Bigfoot and Dogman statues that she carves by hand. And they were talking about Bigfoot and Dogman encounters. So cryptid more than paranormal, right? And then this lady creeps up behind and basically whispers, "I've had experiences too." So automatically in Jess's mind, she thinks Bigfoot and Dogman, that's right up Erick's alley.
So Jess brings her over to me. where I'm sitting at this picnic table, just kind of floating around in my bubble of love that I was feeling. And she sits down, introduces herself as Lisa. I think she said her last name. Couldn't tell you what it is. And I mean, she like goes right into it. I mean, there was like no hesitation. There was no filter. That, you know, she just was like ready to just spew it all out. And, you know, my intention was going to be, you know, hey, you know, give me the bullet points in an email, send it to me. My brain's all over the place right now. You know, let's revisit this in a few days once I've kind of come down from all this, and then we'll put something together. But then she goes into talking about living with this attachment and the depression and the anxiety and the OCD and the thoughts of suicide taking her life. And that not only her, but she knows that her dad has dealt with the same attachment. And, you know, so, I mean, one of my kids actually both my kids, they're, you know, there's some anxiety. There's, you know, mental health in the younger generations here in the mid-20s, mental health for whatever reason has become more at the forefront of things. And, you know, where in my age you were told to, you know, rub some dirt on it and, you know, shake it off. Just, you know, it is what it is. Life sucks. Go quit being a wuss, you know. My kids and many kids their age are much more open and susceptible to and accepting of. And you know, there's a lot of components to this, so I'm trying not to be boring or give too much information, but I think all of it is very relevant. At the time that she sat down, when Jess dropped her off to me, till the time that I lost my shit and broke down emotionally, ugly crying, that kind that you cannot contain. 3 minutes max. 3 minutes. I've got chills going now. And I looked away from her because I was mortified. I was embarrassed that I was, you know, I've got 100 people that are around me that are here for a Bigfoot conference, and I'm losing my shit. And I look off to my left a little bit, and I see Christina Rake, Archbishop, sitting at a table, and I see a server just putting a plate of food down for her to eat her lunch. And inside me, I am like, I have to get her to Christina. I can't interrupt Christina. She just got her food. But I couldn't stop myself. I had to get this girl to Christina. I'm losing my shit. I mean, when I'm telling you that I am crying uncontrollably, and there's no emotional reaction from this girl at all. You would expect, oh my God, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to upset you. What did I say? Oh, I feel terrible. there's nothing. Very stoic, very straight-faced, this girl was very attractive. She was noticeable. I would say striking as far as her appearance, but didn't stand out like vibrant colors or there wasn't anything loud about her, but it was strange. And I managed to get the 10 or 12 feet with this girl to Christina. And I leaned down onto the picnic table with my elbows, and I tried to talk as closely to Christina's ear as I could, but I couldn't hardly get words out. And I said, Christina, you have to talk to this girl. And she looked over at me and saw that I was a blubbering idiot. She put her hand on my back and on my shoulder, and she's like, "Oh my God, honey, what's the matter? What's going on? Did something bad happen?" And then I was like, "You got to talk to her." And she's like, "Okay, I will. What's going on?" And I said, "It's not good. It's not good." That's all I could get out. And there was another gentleman by the name of Sid who was sitting at the end of the picnic table, and he reached over and put his hand on my back and handed me a piece of paper towel. And, I'm trying to wipe the tears off my face. And, I had to get away. I had to get out of there. I had to leave. And I'm like, literally in my bones, I wanted to get in the car and drive away. But this is my event. I'm the host. So I made my way across the length of the seating area, and I exited, and I went on the back side of the van that I drove there with all the equipment. I opened the door, I reached in the truck, grabbed a cigar, and I sat down on the step that you step into the van in. And I lit the cigar, and I'm trying to compose myself. And so this is maybe 5 minutes from the time that girl sat down. 5 or 6 minutes, most, from the time the girl sat down next to me. And my son comes around the side of the van, and then he's like, "Are you all right? What's going on? You're freaking me out." He's like, "I've never seen you cry like this before." He said, "The only thing that was even close to this was when Johnny died like 14 years ago." He's like, "I don't know what the fuck is going on." And I said, "I'm okay." I said, "I can't talk about it though. I can't talk." Every time I thought about that woman, it just came back and just kept coming back. And I had this feeling like if you had, like, I don't know, maybe your wife or your husband or your partner or whatever, like gently put their fingers on your back, not really massaging or anything, but just lightly touching, and kind of just run their fingers up your back. When I was sitting next to her, that's what I was feeling. I felt creeping, like there was something coming off of this woman. And when I was at the van, and I would think about what just happened a few minutes before that, I kept feeling it. It wasn't a constant thing. It, like, when I would start thinking about it, it would start, that kind of coming over the middle of my back, over the cap of my shoulders. And it was just like very light, touching, creepy ass, pervert feeling shit. It felt invasive. And my son was there for a few minutes and he's like, Rachel just got sick. And I was like, what? And he goes, she just puked over the fence. Now, Rachel's my daughter. And I'm like, when? He says, just a few minutes ago. Rachel got sick at the same time that this was happening to me. And we were maybe 40 feet at most away from each other, directly in line, but 35, 40 feet apart. And then she comes running over and she's laughing. And she's like happy, giddy, having a great time. And she's like, oh my God, what's going on with you? And then she's like, I just puked out of like nowhere. She's like, Jill walked up and said, blah, 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 blah. And I said, oh, that's great. Oh, hey, I got to puke. And she stood up on her chair and lifted her head over the edge of the privacy fence and threw up. And of course, she's asking me, what's the matter? Tell me what's going on. And I'm like, I can't talk about this. I said, I'm okay. I can't talk about this because every time I do try to say something, I just start losing it again. I said, I'm okay. Just give me some time. I said, I need an ice cold bottle of water, please. So she ran, she got me ice cold bottle of water and I drank it. I kind of composed myself. I didn't like the way I was feeling, but I was like, I've got all these people here. I got to pull it together and I don't want people seeing me crying, which was too late because I'm pretty sure just about everybody there probably wondered what the fuck was going on. So I closed the van. I walk back into the arena and I make my way back to my vendor's table where the lady that I'm seeing is sitting at her table. And, here come the, what the hell's going on? Are you okay? Did something bad happen? And that girl is like now back to sitting. And here's the other weird thing. Very light complected girl. Tommy, I would say she didn't necessarily have red hair, but maybe it was strawberry blonde, but she had that very light redheaded complexion.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't think that she would be sitting in the unabated sun.
The only person who was sitting in the sun.
Everybody else is sitting under a large 40 by 60 tent. Mm-hmm. That is where the speakers were talking. She was sitting in the sun. And she had directly
in front of my booth and at a 90 degree to where your kids were as well.
Yeah. Her back was directly facing my kids. Her right side was directly facing JJ. She wasn't looking at me, but the way she sat, her eyes were darting around, like just darting. And she had a very small left to right bob or weave or whatever you want to call it.
Sway.
She wasn't paying attention to, she may have been listening, but optically with her eyes, she was not paying attention to the speaker. She wasn't looking at anything. She was just looking at everything. Her eyes were everywhere. And I'm sitting next to Stacy, the woman I'm seeing. And I immediately start losing it again. I can't even look at this woman without breaking down. I missed an important part. When I left the table where I left that girl sitting with Christina Wright, when I started to walk away, she looked at me, and just as emotionless and as stoic as she was when she told me this stuff, she said, "You're so empathetic. Thank you very much." And I was like, when I first heard it, I thought, that she was thanking me for being understanding and caring. But the way that she said it had no emotion. And it didn't dawn on me until when I was sitting next to Stacy. She said, "I heard what she said to you, and it did not sound nice. It was almost like she was mocking you." And I was like, you're right. I didn't say that out loud, but in my head, it was like, I got the overwhelming feeling that I was being told, "Thank you. I got what I wanted out of you." And I went up to get a drink from the bar. I wanted a ice cold cider. And Christina walked up to me and was telling me that she was going to have to start getting her way back to Chicago. So she was going to leave. She wanted to know how I was doing. And, I was quivering. I had shaky legs. I had kind of a tremble throughout my body. My voice was shaky. And, she put her hand on my back, and she, was being very nice. And she said, "Would you like me to pray over you?" And I'm like, "Fuck yeah, do it now. Do it now." I'm like, yeah. I said, and there was a gate to the fence right by us. I said, "Let's go step out there." And so we stepped outside, and I kind of had to lean against the fence. I was using it to support me. And she was standing beside me, and I turned my head and I looked at her, and I said, "What the F is going on? What's going on with her?" And her explanation to me was that Archbishop has gifts which have been proven to me by some of the things that she's told me. She said that her gifts were shut off by this girl's presence. Not by her, but her gifts, the JJ, what would you call it? Her
angelic spirit team, her angels,
the things that protect her from getting into something bad.
Yeah,
closed off her abilities to get any kind of a read on this woman.
Right.
Holy crap.
And she said when she sat down, when I first took her over there, she took her hands and she made fists, and she went, my gate went boom down immediately. She says, I can get anything off of her, no read off of her whatsoever. JJ can confirm this because she was in the same boat.
Well, I'm still not back yet at this point. This is how fast this has all happened. Like, it only takes 7 to 10 minutes to smoke a cigarette. And this has all gone down in that short amount of time. I'm walking back from having a cigarette, and I see Erick leaning up against the fence with the Archbishop praying over him. And I have people with me, and I'm like, let's turn around and leave them be because I don't know what's going on here. And so I go in the other entrance to try and, keep people away from whatever's happening. Because I still don't know what's happened.
So before she prayed over me, she's telling me that she can't remove what this girl has. Because one, it's not demonic. Two, she doesn't know what the fuck it is. She says that this thing has been attached to not only her and her father, but generations of her bloodline. And it's not demonic. She says that before she would attempt to do anything as far as removing this from this girl, that there would have to be, and I'll pay close attention to what she said, there would have to be additional people involved. There would have to be therapy after the fact. And that there needed to be an assurance of some kind of aftercare by the archdiocese when they were done. And then she says, "Are you ready?" And I'm like, "Yeah, fucking do it." And as she stepped behind me, she mumbles, "I'm going to perform the rite." And I'm like, that's not what you say when you're going to pray over somebody. She put her hand on the back of my head very gently. And my knees buckled. Whatever she said silently. It wasn't out loud. And as she continued to say the rite, her pressure of her head on the back of my head became more and more. I don't know if you have a weighted blanket. All right, you know that enveloping feeling that you get from having a weighted blanket on you. It felt like I had that over my head, my shoulders, my back. And as she continued to pray, it felt like something just lifted that off my back. And in no time flat, I felt fine. It was gone. I was at peace. And she rubbed my back. She was standing on my left side. She rubbed my back. She's asking me how I was. And I'm like, what you described as far as the aftercare and the additional people being involved and all that, I said, you were talking about a fucking exorcism, weren't you? And then when she stepped behind me, she performed the minor rite of exorcism. And it was done. It was gone. And I joked with her. I looked at her and I said, fuck, does that mean I'm still Catholic after all this? Because I haven't practiced Catholicism since I was like 15. And she laughed. And you have to understand, Archbishop Rake is, she's a potty mouth sailor. She is a devout woman of God, but she has an extremely refreshing take on your religious beliefs and what God minds and what he doesn't. We hugged, I kissed her on the cheek, thanked her, walked back in, sat down next to my lady friend, and she looked at me and she's like, "You look so different." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And she's like, "You've got color in your face. You don't look tired." She said, "When you sat down next to me, you looked an emotional wreck. You were pasty white. You looked sick. You looked ill." And she's like, "You've got color in your face. You're like, your eyes are bright." All this in maybe 20 minutes, all told.
Wow, is all I can say. I mean, wow.
Oh, there's
No
more.
words.
So
There's more.
Yes.
Holy
Yeah.
cow.
So as Eric had explained, so to back up even before he was introduced, I'm at my table. I'm kind of in the middle of the venue. So it's like a long rectangle, right? And so the tent basically came halfway through the rectangle, and I was just the first one out in the sun with a tent over me. And there were picnic benches in front of where my table was, but no one was sitting at them because everyone wanted to be in the shade, right? So all of a sudden I noticed this woman, because she stands out enough that like you notice her, because she's not dressed like a Bigfooter. She's not wearing any of the merch shirts or anything that most other people were wearing. She's dressed just different enough, and she's by herself. And she's sitting in the sun on a picnic bench, and her head is 90 degrees from me. She's kind of looking straight forward, which wasn't where the speaker was. The speaker's more like 120 degrees. It is kind of odd.
He was
So-
profile like I am now.
she was
Yeah.
just looking straight into the crowd.
Not at the speaker, into the crowd.
Yeah.
And she's sitting literally directly in front of my eye line. And so initially when she sat down, I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." But just like anyone else, if she's interested in talking to me, she'll come over to me, but maybe she's waiting for someone. Don't give it much thought, but it was odd. Go on a little bit. I still don't see anyone with her. She's not ordering a drink. She's not waiting for food. Because everyone had like these little number stands when they were waiting for food. So kind of like, okay, maybe she's cold and she'll warm up and go under the tent. And it was weird because it was almost like this, "I want your attention, but I don't want to talk to you" vibe is what I kept getting. She looked everywhere in that venue except at me. I was the only person she didn't look at. And that's strange. And I mean, there were enough people that like, I wouldn't have caught it had she not sat directly in my eye line. So at this point, I get up. There's kind of like the speaker's kind of on a roll. And it was a good point. No one was at the vendor's table. So it was a good point for me to go take a break. I needed to just go take a walk and have a cigarette and kind of go have me time for a minute and recollect myself and my energy. So I leave. And as I leave, for whatever reason, my table mate Jess, because again, there was kind of a lull, goes over and is talking to our neighbor about Bigfoot and Dogman stuff, because that's what the neighbor's venue table made. And they're kind of trading Bigfoot Dogman stories. And then this lady comes up behind her and says, "I've had experiences too." And Jess said, "Oh, well, have you told Erick? And the lady goes, who's Erick? And so Jess goes, well, you know, it's his podcast that puts this on. Like, and in Jess's head, she's thinking, how did this woman even end up at this event if she doesn't know Erick or his podcast? Right? Like, kind of random, but maybe she found it on Eventbrite or, you know, something like that. But it's kind of odd if you've been here and you've seen him get up and he's announcing the speaker and stuff, like you would figure you would know who Erick is. And so all that goes through her mind in a second, but she goes, well, you know, if you got big man and dog or Bigfoot and dogman stories, then for sure, like you should tell Erick that's his jam. And the lady goes, oh, well, I don't know who he is. And she's like, oh, let me introduce you. Jess is probably the only person there besides me who isn't into Bigfoot and Dogman as much. And I mean, she is to a point, but she's very polite. So she literally made the introduction to Erick and then in her sweet politeness walked away. Anybody else in that venue was so into Dogman and Bigfoot that if they had heard someone had a story, even if they had thought ahead to be like, hey, let's get you over to talk to Erick, they would have stayed to listen to the conversation because they're super into that stuff. Jess, being her lovely, beautiful self, like I said, is the only person who would have made the intro and walked away. So she basically says, hi, Erick, this woman's had, you know, experiences, but, you know, meet Erick, and then immediately walks away. And Jess apparently goes back to the table where she can see Erick and this woman speaking. And when I come back from my cigarette after I see Erick basically leaning on the fence with the Archbishop praying over him, and I'm like, I'm not stepping into that. I don't understand what's happening. Like someone needs to catch me up, but I'm with other people, so I'm not going to intrude. So I go back in and I go to Jess and I ask what happened. And what I hear is, oh, poor Erick. He started talking to that woman and like within minutes, he literally just collapsed and started bawling, crying. And I went, what? And you know, hey, it's a manly thing to cry. Men have emotions too. That's completely okay. But I know Erick pretty well, right? Like I love him dearly. We talk a lot. I know him very, very well. He and I are a lot alike. So big displays of public emotion, especially something intimate like crying, especially at a venue where he was so happy and, you know, putting on, right? He is the face of Bigfoot and Brews, is not something that's going to happen. So when I hear this in the almost collapse part, you know, my heart freaks out because I'm thinking, oh my God, did he have a heart attack? Like, what the hell's going on? And so at this point, he's now back, and I see the Archbishop isn't there. And so Erick starts walking towards me, and I go, hey, bud, you want a hug? Because I'm thinking, okay, even if I hug him energetically, I can figure out what's just happened. And he shakes his head at me like, no. And he goes, I need you to go talk to Archbishop Christina now. And I'm like, okay. So I run inside and I find her and she goes, oh, good. I was looking for you. I'm going to head out, but I have your book in my car. And I said, great, we need to talk. So her and I walk to the parking lot and I said, what happened? She said, oh, this lady was introduced to Erick and has a really bad attachment. And Erick just felt, you know, so genuinely bad and empathetic towards her that he just, you know, he was at a weak point. He was stressed. He was tired. This event's going on. He, you know, it was just the perfect moment for this thing to.
She said my spigot was way too open.
Yeah.
And I said, well, feel free to stick a cork in my ass if you have to, but shut this fucking thing down now.
Yeah.
I didn't care.
Yeah, she didn't tell me all that, but the way and I said, well, did you talk to the woman? And she said, yes. And I said, and because Archbishop Christina Rake has similar abilities to myself. And she goes, honestly, she's very well under control. She's not feeding it. It wants her to stay at home and isolated. So she told me this is why she comes to events that are social, so that she can get out around people and not feed it what it wants, which is for her to be isolated at home and alone. And I look at her and I'm like, like my eyebrows going up, and I'm like, are you not picking up what I'm picking up? And she's completely like, the woman's fine. And I'm looking at her kind of almost in disbelief, because I'm thinking, well, something's obviously not right, because Erick just got spiritually attacked, and that is not a normal reaction for Erick. And I mean, Erick is a big giant teddy bear, but at the same time, like, to almost collapse crying in public like that's completely abnormal. And so
when I'm around an energy like that, I have an immediate detest for that person. I don't want to associate with them. I am very short. I have no patience. I want to be done with and rid of that. This reaction that I had was not typical of how I feel when I'm around those kind of people.
No. And Archbishop Christina Rake and I, when we are around someone with an attachment, or it starts to present itself, or it starts to attack, we get what the word we described to each other the night before this event was righteous anger. And it comes out, and for me, I go into Mama Wolf warrior mode. Like, I'm going to protect my babies at all costs. It's gone. And she gets the same thing. So I asked her, I said, hey, well, did you get any of that righteous anger feeling when you talked to her? And she goes, no, nothing. And so I'm almost shaking my head in disbelief, because I'm like, none of this makes sense. So I get the book from her. We hug, say goodbye. I go back into the venue, and I'm puzzled. I'm putting all my armor on at this point. I already have been protected because I was doing energy work at the event, but I put my defenses on a little bit more. So I go back to the table, and the woman's still sitting dead ass in front of me. And so I start energetically scanning, and nothing. Now, most people listening to this are going to think, okay, when I mean nothing, I mean I couldn't see an aura. I couldn't see a vibration. I couldn't see an emanation. It was like it was a cardboard sitting there. I then, because I'm thinking, okay, well, sometimes things are weird, I start scanning the area, and everyone and everything, I mean physical things, else is vibrating, aura, emanation. I see it all like I normally do. I scan back to her, and nothing. And I'm like, okay. So I take a couple minutes, and I look up again, and then I go, okay, you know what? No, like, this did something to my friend. This is weird. I don't understand this. This does not happen. Like, it just doesn't. And so I go in a little more forcefully, energetically. Like, I'm prodding now. I'm not scanning. I'm prodding, trying to figure out, are you blocking me, or what is going on? Because this just doesn't happen. I can always see something. Everything is alive, right? It has an energy, or so I can always see something. There was nothing. So I start prodding, and I start needling. And within 30 seconds of me going in and prodding, this woman stands up. Her head does not move. It is 90 degrees from me. She's in profile. And she's on a picnic bench, like where the bench is attached to the table, right? So, those are a little difficult to get out of, especially as a woman, right? Like, normally what a person does is they look down, plant their feet, watch as their leg goes over the bench, and then you put your head forward and start to walk. And especially normal females, we usually look down to make sure we haven't left anything or pick up our purse or whatever it is. Her head never moves. Her vision never moves from straight forward. She stands up. She lifts her leg up without looking down and immediately makes a beeline and just leaves. And when I tell you that was odd, it was almost robotic the way that she got up and left. Now, granted, I very rarely poke and prod like that. I'm not normally an invasive person. I'm all about consent and this and that, but something came after my friend and I'm experiencing something that I don't experience, which is I can see nothing. So I didn't go in for the kill, but I definitely was nosy, and someone energetically sensitive would feel that. I find it interesting. As soon as I went for that, she gets up and she leaves. So, you know, Erick and I really didn't get a chance to talk about all of this, a very slim part, because he was still a little shaken up about the whole thing. And there was a lot of people around that, you know, weren't interested in this. And we didn't actually get a chance to talk until Sunday late evening when I was already home. Like I had already flown home. And I told him, hey, I think we need like just a debrief for like an hour. Well, it was like a 3.5 hour conversation, because when he started giving me the details of what he had and the info that I had, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, this is weird. This is like a deliberate, coordinated attack. And it doesn't make sense that she tells Erick, oh, I found out about your podcast from my boyfriend, and yet she tells Jess, I don't know who Erick is. And then, you know, there's this whole story about how apparently she had emailed the Catholic Church before like maybe in the past, I want to say the past couple of years, you know, there's a form at the Catholic Church that you fill out if you think there could be reason for an exorcism or a house blessing. And on the form, it clearly states, like, it's going to take a while for us to get back to you. And she told Archbishop Christina Rake that when she submitted this form, she got a FaceTime call from the Archdiocese within 30 minutes. Which I did check with Christina Rake, because I was like, that sounds abnormal. And she was like, well, you got to think most archdioceses and bishops have energetic, usually precognizance, if you will, different abilities. That's the word I'm looking for. And so some of them usually will like instinctively know one over the other. And according to what she told Christina, Christina was satisfied in her answer of why nothing was done, but why it was urgent enough that they would call her that quickly. Obviously, I don't know anything about the Catholic Church and how they work. So, you know, for me, that just sounds a little strange that like they're going to call so quickly, but like there's nothing done afterwards. It's odd, right? And then I've got my friend Erick, who literally one of his superpowers is when people have attachments, whether they know it or not, he just instinctually has this almost like guttural reaction to them of dislike and anger. And for this man who puts on this event, I mean, this is an event that he works an entire year to put on. It's important to him. There's a lot of footwork and groundwork. He had a lot of wonderful, amazing people at this event. You know, really, really rich with people. And what was really interesting is when this event started with him and her, he was kind of looking around because there weren't a ton of people who were in attendance. When I got back after the Archbishop was praying on him at the fence, and I walked back in to my table, all of a sudden the entire place was full. it was like 100 more people showed up in the 10 to 15 minutes that I was gone, which is also really weird because I was out front. I would have seen these people come in, and I didn't see all these people come in. It was like they just popped up out of nowhere. So this was a lot.
Wow.
You brought the weird with you, JJ.
I tend to do that, don't I?
You do, actually.
Have you ever
but
figured out what it was? Or are you still working on it?
A couple of theories.
I mean, I have theories, obviously. There's no way to contact the woman. No one made any contact with her whatsoever in order to get a hold of her. I'm not sure at this.
Apparently she got her information. Christina got her information.
Really?
Okay.
Or I take that back. Either the girl left with Christina's information, or Christina had her information. Maybe it makes more sense that she had left her. Christina had left her information with the girl.
I think it makes more sense that way because I took it upon myself after Eric and I had talked on Sunday to message Jess and Archbishop Christina Rake and ask some questions. And I said, hey, I'm going to ask you some questions. I'm not going to really give any backstory into why I'm asking this because I don't want to taint answers. But like, can you tell me the following questions? And one of them was, did you understand or did she disclose in any way, shape, or form how she ended up at the event, if she listens to the show, and who she is? And other than the first name being Lisa, neither of them told me anything.
Wow.
Mm.
I mean, it sounds to me like she was there to attack you, Eric. That's what it sounds like. I don't believe it. How can she be there and not know the show? And
Yeah,
that's bizarre, man.
Now I want to read from Christina's response email to JJ. And this is only a partial of it, but probably the most telling for me at the end of this. JJ's question: in looking back, do you feel that the event Eric was that? Do you feel that event with Eric was planned or predetermined? To your question, Tommy. She said, not at all. She explained that she is open about what is happening because the demon wants to isolate her. She is exactly correct. The more you hold in, the more the thing can manipulate you. I told her that she is starving it, which is what the other priest told her to do. Also, she didn't mean to upset Eric. She goes on to say, nothing she said conflicted with what I'd expect from a genuine attachment. The next statement: it isn't demonic. It's something else, but equally as destructive. We spoke about her OCD type, which is rare, and also about her family, etc. I do not think that she said, there's some misspellings in here. I do not think it was planned. All of her answers were correct in ways you would expect. That's why her tale about the priest was important. It isn't what the people believe really happens, so she didn't pick it up from a movie or from other people talking about it. But I know that it happens in genuine cases, and the priest told her what I did. She has to live with it. An exorcism will not help. If she were making it up, she wouldn't know that this is what the actual exorcist would say to her. What is it?
Wow.
An exorcism won't help? Christina flat out told me that if she would have attempted, this was before she laid her hands on me, if she would attempt to try to remove that from her, that the girl's life would be affected negatively because she may not know how to live without it entwined in her.
Sounds like an addiction complex.
Now, there's one thing I disagree on. And, please remember, I'm not associated with the church or any organized religion. But there are some people who will say, oh, well, attachments tend to want to isolate people, right? Yeah, but.
Yeah, I had the same
Yeah. So,
reaction. Go ahead.
Same.
in my experience, I have seen people with attachments deliberately go after being physically around other people because it's like a contagion. That's how it spreads. And that's how it can mutate, and that's how it can bring its friends and get new hosts. It feeds. And whether it's one little attack here or there that it can feed on, whether it's the fear, this, that, and the other, or if it gets to fully latch on. I mean, if you really listen to what Erick said, he said when she prayed over him, he felt that weighted blanket lift. And he kept feeling the creepy crawlies up his back. That is not normal. And, from someone who's been spiritually attacked many times, in all sorts of different ways, I find it highly strange and suspect that the one time when I'm physically around Erick and not tuned into him because I see no threat whatsoever, he's got myself and the Archbishop there. He was physically in between both of us the entire time. So I'm thinking we're fine. And the majority of the people that were there don't mess with anything that is in my realm of needing extra protection from. They're clean, clear, and, energetically fine. And so I find it so odd that all this goes down the moment I leave, the only time that I left by myself, and that I'm preoccupied, right? And kind of off on my own, that all this goes down. And even Erick said he was, and the really important part about Stacy, the woman that he is so gloriously seeing, she is very green to all of this. And I say that with kindness and love. The paranormal world, the Bigfoot world, all of this is like brand new to her, right? The only reason she really knows or even cares about any of this stuff is because of Erick and his show. But like, we're talking maybe a month, right? Or two, that she's even like decided to listen to a show and even try to entertain.
Since May.
Okay. More than a couple months. Time flies. But the reason why I'm bringing up her being so green is it's not like she has insight like the rest of us, where she's going to look at a situation like this and be like, that's something spiritual's, hinkering going on here. The fact that she caught that Erick looked pale, sweaty, out of sorts, not himself. And she even said those words, you didn't look like yourself. Then when he gets back from the prayer session, all of a sudden he's him again. Kind of interesting verbiage for her to use. The second thing is she's the one who caught, not Erick. She's the one who caught when the woman turned around and said, thank you for being so open and empathetic, in a monotone voice. Stacy's the one that caught what she said and her tone and this weird, almost like kind of
she was very struck. She was very struck by how oddly that the words themselves were kind words, but the the tone that
intent.
it was, the intent
Yeah.
behind it.
Yeah. The intent was dark.
And the half smirk.
Yeah. I was curious to know, do you know of any other such attacks at that event?
None.
The only other thing that happened that was completely out of the norm was my daughter getting sick at the same time.
Okay.
And with the
Yeah.
with the talk that this was so ingrained generationally into this girl, my fear was that
It's a tether. Yeah.
I had my generations were there as well. And
Mhm.
was it looking to, you know, my son and I are very much, we love Star Wars. We love metal music. We love kick-ass shit. You know, we like knives. We like flashlights. We bond in guy things. But my daughter and I, we are much more, have much more of an emotional tie. You know,
Yeah.
she is like a female version of me. She's a kick-ass, strong, independent woman with a great career. But it really kind of shook me to know, like, when my son told me when she got sick, that happened at the same time that I was getting attacked. And, you know, was that a reaction that she was having to me, or was there something attempting to act on her as well? I don't know.
And strangely enough, I walked by her a little later, and she, in the chipperest voice, goes, "I puked over the fence." And I go, "Honey, what?" And she goes, "I had a migraine." And I go, "Well, do you need some ibuprofen?" And she goes, "I don't know." Like, and just totally happy and like giddy. And I said,
Wow.
"Well, give me a minute, come over to my table, and I'll give you some ibuprofen and I'll run some energy on you." She goes, "Okay." So, shortly thereafter, she does. I give her ibuprofen, run some energy on her. She feels fine, and off she goes. Well, when I told Eric this, he goes, "Migraine?" And I said, "Yeah, that's what she told me." And he goes, "She doesn't get migraines."
I
And
know
this
the girl
isn't a
for
dad
20,
who, like,
25 years. She's
yeah,
never, the word
So-
migraine has never come out of her mouth.
So strange, man.
Yeah. Something
Yeah.
happened.
Wow.
I had a couple of things I noted, and even though the bishop said no demon, my thought was my first thought, actually. And as things progressed, I'm wondering if we may have had not someone with an attachment, but a dark entity in the flesh.
I thought that too.
That was that's
Wow.
a bit wild, but that's kind of what everything pointed to.
Especially when you said she was like a robot in a way. So she was just a shell of something.
Yeah. I also wrote down mimic.
I've never got goosebumps so much. It's
Yeah,
been constant.
same.
Man.
Yeah. God, I wish I'd been there for this.
Oh. Eric, when you was
Yeah, it was-
explaining that,
Not
I was
the not the
shaking.
revel in your
fucking
pain,
great,
dude. That's not what I'm saying. But
Yeah.
It was great. Let's do it again.
no, that's not what I'm saying.
I know.
I realized that came out wrong.
Hey, I'm sorry I missed you getting fucking possessed. That would
So
have been
I don't
kick-ass.
I honestly don't know what I would have done, but I would have liked to think I would have been able to do something to help. But who knows?
Man. That is,
I told you all it was a doozy.
Yeah, that's beautiful. You in?
yeah.
You win the
I-
night. Happy
yeah.
Halloween,
My
everyone.
my paranormal
My-
experiences are
drop.
nothing.
If my
I had a
wife,
stupid dream about a chick with a
mic wasn't
motorcycle.
so expensive, I'd just hold it up and drop it.
Yeah.
Man. But
Yeah.
So,
you-
I guess maybe in closing, what I'll say is, like, I think probably each one of us has been asked at some point in time, the more you look into this stuff, do you seem to experience more? I've gone on investigations, haunted houses, little paranormal stuff. I've gotten some pretty cool evidence, things that have happened during that. I am not a seeker of interacting with spirits on the other side, which Ouija boards, or I'm not inviting anything to come in and, hey, take me over and do whatever you want to do, and let's see what you got to say. I'm not that guy.
Nope.
I'm not that guy, and I'm not surrounded by those type of people. I don't go looking for this. I facilitate conversation. I am a platform for people to come to and talk about their experiences, and maybe lend some insight, maybe ask some questions that may draw out information that they didn't even realize, maybe gives them a different perspective on what happened. I'm a conversationalist. I just tend to like to talk about things that people should pay attention to, and many don't. So my question is, why me?
Well, haven't interviewed you and listened to you as a fan as well, and also had you on my show a couple of times.
You have.
You, sir, are a magnet for this stuff. I mean, you told me the story about the upside down blue cross that burned after you burned a tape, where a demonic entity out of nowhere appears on the tape.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's not even the beginning of your experiences.
Right.
Let's flash forward a little bit to maybe a couple, 3-4 months ago, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. You and your daughter go out to this graveyard near your place, and you see an orb.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, that was
everywhere you go.
Some years ago. Yeah.
Oh, was that? Okay. My mistake. But it seems
15
wherever
or
you
16.
go. Okay. Sorry. 2016.
Okay.
Wherever you go, on an investigation or not, I think you're putting out an energy that things like this are drawn to.
Yeah.
And you're not as bad as the guest I had a couple of times ago. Tommy introduced me to her, Kali. What's her first name?
Marie.
Yeah. Easy enough name to remember, and I forgot it for some reason. She's a super paranormal magnet. I mean,
man.
But I think you have a similar magnetism. Seriously, that sounds goofy to say, but I think you do.
Yeah.
And I think maybe from this point forward, hopefully this experience has helped you out in as far as really protect yourself. I think you do have to bubble up every time you go out, especially to get to things like this. I know it's the Bigfoot conference, but you're a magnet for this stuff, man. You see this stuff all the time, whether you want to or not.
And they see you.
Yeah.
I think JJ's got kind of an interesting thought on that.
That he's a magnet, I'm right? I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Well, she said,
teasing.
and Christina both said that, and this is going to sound egotistical, and there is no ego behind what I do. But the way they said it is that I am the conduit.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I'm a conduit for supernatural experiences, but I am the conduit by which people are brought together. That, and that's one of the things that, like, in the beginning of when I did my introduction and hello, welcome to Bigfoot and Brews, As I looked out at the audience, you know, I had, like I said, I had several people that had been guests on the show. I had people, you know, JJ flew 2,400 miles to come support me as a vendor at a Bigfoot. She doesn't give two shits about Bigfoot. But she came out of love and to support me and
showed my face publicly for the first time
For the
ever.
first time.
Yes.
Yay.
You know, I don't believe in coincidences, Kat. You said that earlier. Synchronicities is about the only word, but it is getting so overused since Hellier that I'm almost hating that word, but I don't know what else to say.
Right.
How synchronistic is it that, you know, Archbishop, who is insanely busy between the church and her being a professor at, you know, at a college in Chicago, teaching demonology and angelology and theology and, you know, all the stuff that she is doing and taking care of trying to get money to, you know, her orphanage in Kenya. The woman has no time. And, you know, all of a sudden she's got a free weekend and she wants to come to my event. An archbishop in the old Catholic Church wants to come to a Bigfoot conference. What?
And Eric, when I had told you I was flying out, I had told you the one person I wish was coming was her.
Yeah. Because there was absolutely no way she was going to be able to make it. You know,
right. And we knew that. So it was kind of like, you know, I just kind of said it like, oh man, if there was one person going, I really wish it was her. My husband literally bails on me a week before. You know, my husband bails on me a week before because of work thing. And all of a sudden, so I told Eric, hey, if there's someone who wants to go and financially they're having an issue, like I'll donate my tickets. And the next morning he calls me while he's supposed to be at work. So Eric calling me in the middle of his work day is weird. So I immediately pick up like, oh my God, what's going on? He's like, you're never going to believe this. Christina's coming. And I'm like, well, I know who my date to the dinner is. The Archbishop.
Thank the Lord she was there. I mean, it sounds like she was meant to be there.
Definitely.
Exactly.
If she wasn't there, man. But obviously she was meant to be there.
You know, in the part that I find interesting. Okay, so two people there that I know have my back. Several people there who have my back in a physical sense, but two people there that have my back in a spiritual sense, JJ and Christina. JJ's not there. And Christina is about as far as I could walk without my knees buckling. And, you know, so what's the likelihood that I was born and raised Catholic? I was baptized. I did my first communion, confirmed, or whatever the hell that is. But I have not been a practicing Catholic since I was probably 15. I disagree with a lot of what goes on with the Catholic religion. I don't ascribe to any organized religion as much as I have a personal relationship with my creator, whatever that is, whether that's an Anunnaki god who altered our DNA 20,000 years ago, or whether that is a universal energy that has created everything, or whether it's a white bearded guy in a white robe sitting in a cloud throne, whatever it is. I don't care what it is. And I don't need some guy standing at a pulpit in front of me telling me what I need to believe. My relationship with my creator is a personal thing now. But what I find strange is that the one person that was there that could help me was from how I was raised. And I wonder if that is of importance, because I still say prayers. I still think about who we're told is Jesus Christ, but I don't think Jesus Christ was his name. I don't think he was as white as what he's portrayed as. I don't know what his name was, but I don't think it was Jesus Christ. But I do believe in the figure that is represented by what we've been taught. And, you know, was that the path of least resistance because of what I had grown up with? And during those very formative years, I have told this on many occasions in my episodes, even though I don't ascribe to it, I still find myself falling back to that immediately. Even though I disagree with a lot of it, I still find myself getting thrust back to what I was taught as a kid. And was that the impetus of why it worked? Which to me is a very telling thing about religions throughout the world, whether you're a Buddhist or whether you're, you know, a Muslim, or whether you're Jewish, or whether you're Christian or Catholic or Episcopalian or whatever the, you know, Lutheran or whatever the hell you are. Is that of importance when it comes to something like this? Only because that's what you know. I don't know. It makes me wonder, had I not been Catholic, even though I don't think that that's important, is that why Christina was able to do what she did so quickly?
I think part of that is because Christina's Christina and holds that power. Just because you know how to say the right doesn't mean it's going to work.
So,
Wow,
it's the
man.
power and the intent behind the words. And I think it is an important reminder for all of you listening, all of us who, you know, work in this genre, in this realm, as a reminder that we all stay protected and that we have protection measures in place. This stuff is real. We know it. We've experienced it firsthand, or we've talked to someone and we believe and know them, right, to have experienced it. So, you know, it's not one of those like, oh, don't be interested in it, don't look at it. That doesn't help anybody, right? But have your smarts and your wits about you, because this stuff can happen. And spiritual attacks don't happen when you're waiting for them. They happen when you least expect them.
Yeah.
And that's why you have to be vigilant.
Yep.
Yeah, man. I mean, that moment that it happened to you, Eric, that's probably the last, you're having that moment of pure love. You've got all these people around you that you love. And then in a second, it just went to the darkest place possible. Yeah, it's, I just would never imagine that can happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
3 minutes is all it took.
Man.
That's incredible.
It was astounding. It really is. I mean, even trying to separate myself from the actual experience of it all, to think about the logistics of the number of things that happen within such a very short span of time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you know,
it's mind-boggling is what it is. I mean,
for the rest of the night, once this lady had gone and you were back to feeling sort of yourself, was the night normal after that, or was you
absolutely
still
100%? I mean, don't get me wrong, I would get emotional when I start thinking about the events, but as far as my ability to carry on with the rest of presenting and speaking with and talking to people and rubbing elbows and smiling and laughing and having a good time and enjoying the company of Stacy. And, I was fine. When I came back from what Christina did to me, I was fine.
Mm-hmm.
Fine.
And I was a witness because I talked to him multiple times.
When I tell you that I felt something lifted off of me, that's not like, that's not a reach. It literally I felt a weight come off of me. And I'm telling you, when she put her hand on the back of my head, my knees buckled, dude. I was on my way going down.
Wow, man.
And I don't know what that was. I don't know if that was feeling the power of whatever was responding to her prayer. I don't know if that was a repulsion, trying to get away from it. I have no context to that event. I mean, as she was standing next to me, she was wearing a crucifix. I was not repulsed by her. I didn't want to not be by her. It wasn't anything like, get away. It was nothing like that. But maybe it was just a weakness in my legs because I was exhausted. I was tired. I was, had been lifting things earlier in the day, getting things set
Eric.
up.
Yeah, you got the energy sucked out of you, dude.
Okay, Eric, I saw you literally like an hour and a half after that flip a table over with one hand and then, break it down. And come on, man. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
They left us all speechless.
Sure. I've got tingles and everything, man.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole way through that, I was just tingling.
I mean,
Wow.
happy Halloween.
Yeah, happy
Halloween.
I mean, I've got some Halloween questions, but I don't think there's any point going down that road.
Speaking quickly to when you felt that blanket lift off to you, as you recalled that JJ helped me out with something a long time ago, actually, when we first went on our first case, I think, and then recently too, she gave me a salve, a poultice, and it saved me. I'm convinced it saved me. So thank you, JJ.
Yeah.
But I know that sensation that you speak of because I did feel weighed down, and then I used the poultice and it worked great.
Yeah, it was. And then, like Stacy, the woman I'm seeing, I mean, she's like JJ said, she's very green to this. And, she used to work at a big place that used to have Bigfoot conferences, but she was like the person who was in charge of doing buffet dinners for the event center, so she once every year they had a Bigfoot conference there, and she was a part of that, getting the banquet set up, but she's not a Bigfooter, right? So when we started expressing an interest in seeing each other, and she started listening to my show, she's like, she was very complimentary. She's like, you're very good at what you do, and you get things out of people that maybe many others wouldn't be able to do because of the style and the way that you talk to them. But she's like, the topics you talk about, it's like, how do you know about any of this? And and it's like, well, because I've had an interest in it since I was 5 years old with UFOs, and then just migrated to all the other stuff. And, you know, till this day, she's probably gotten through at least half of my episodes. And till this day, I still get like questions about, you know, what is this? And, you know, and how did you even know that? And, you know, what are these terms that you're, you know, throwing around that sound like everybody should know, but they don't, you know? And so, yeah, she is very much not a part of this world.
Yeah.
It's all very new to her. You know, she's admitted that it's not something that ever interested her. You know, she liked to watch scary movies growing up, but delving into any of these things, these topics that we talk about on these shows and we deal with, she's like, no idea. So when she, you know, and I got to give her a shit ton of credit here, because that probably was kind of a scary experience for somebody to be seeing taking place. And then for her to have the composure to just kind of sit there and say, I don't know what happened out there, but you look much better, you know. That was kind of crazy. I don't know. I don't know.
When you said that you're not sure if it's over, is that you feel like you're going to learn more about this? Do you feel like whatever it was is completely gone?
I'm struggling with how emotional I still get with it when I talk about it. Now, granted, it's been 3 days. But you know, I don't feel weird when I talk about it. But there's some aspect to, you know, if you do talk about it, does it bring it back? If you acknowledge it, does it, you know, invite it back? You know, JJ says no, and I believe her, but you know, I'm still kind of
the back of your head.
Yeah, I'm still kind of, you know, worry about it. I mean, I think it's an important thing to share. I think it's an important story because, like I said, I'm not out looking for it. You know, am I open? Am I empathetic? Well, if anybody has listened to any of my episodes, you're going to realize that I am empathetic, to a pretty large degree. Do I have gifts? I don't know. Yeah.
Yes,
I mean,
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not out practicing them. I'm not trying to learn how to read people. I'm not trying to become, you know, a witch or a wizard or
hand off the crank.
You know, I mean, I'm perfectly happy doing what I do, which is finding people that have not been on 13 other podcasts telling the same story over and over again. I find people who are real people who have had issues with things, and, you know, sometimes we get a new perspective on it. Sometimes, you know, they don't. Sometimes, you know, I mean, I'm not, you know, Christina said my spigot was way too open on that day and she needed to close it. So, I mean, I get what she's saying, but I don't really fully understand what that means. But when you put in yourself into, I'm hosting a Bigfoot conference. So everybody that walks through that door, or at least the majority of them, is an open person, right? You don't go to a Bigfoot conference if you were closed off to the possibility of Bigfoot existing. So there's open people there. And I'm not the only person, I'm sure, that is into Bigfoot and UFOs or paranormal experiences or haunted houses, or, you know, I'm sure there were a number of people there that are very open. Christina seemed to think that that was a significant part of why I was able to be attacked so quickly, just because I was wide open.
Well, and like I said, it's not when you're asking for it or when you're ready for it that it's going to happen. You know, spiritual attacks come either when they catch you off guard because they're sneaky and cunning, and that's their job. And when you least expect it, and when your defenses are down. You know, think about it. You don't rob someone's house when they have the security system, the dog, all the lights and bars on the windows, right? You rob the house when they've left a door open or a window open or the power's out, right?
When somebody's been careless.
Exactly. And I think it's a good reminder, you know, especially this being a Halloween themed show. It's a good reminder that, you know, hey, spooky stuff is fun, but
It's real.
keep yourself protected. Take it seriously. Because, you know, a lot of people are going to listen to this and this is going to be a rad story to them. And, you know, they get all the feels and all the things from it, and it's entertainment. But at the same time, like, there are people suffering with this stuff. This is the end that I work on. You know, you guys get to hear the stories, hopefully when people have come out on the other end, or, you know, in between. People usually find me when they've come to the end and they're ready for it to be gone, or ready for, you know, to take a leap into doing this more. So it's important that you have your wits about you and you understand. Don't go willy-nilly into this stuff, and don't go inviting things in if you don't want them to come in, because
Prepared.
It's dangerous. It's dangerous stuff.
And I think that's the reason why we all have shows, is because we let other people know that they're not the only ones having these encounters, and they're not alone. It happens.
Yeah. For sure.
And that's vital and important. I mean, when I was at Bigfoot Brews, I had a lady come up, and it was this really sweet, tender moment, right? Because, I mean, I don't have a podcast like you guys. I have a little YouTube channel, and I'm informative about my stuff, but I don't do what you guys do. And she came up, and she obviously knew I had been a guest on Erick's show because she told me she listens to him religiously. And she said, I just want to let you know, can you pass this on to him and the other podcasters? And I'm like, okay. And she said, what you all do is so important. Like, she was telling me that she works from home and it's very quiet, right, in her job. And she's like, I have podcasts playing constantly. And like, the podcasters and you guests, you become my friends in a way. Like, I'm hearing these stories and I'm immersed in them. And some of them, you know, journey on, right? Like, you'll have a repeated guest and you're kind of involved in their life over time. And that's really, really special from what you all do. I mean, you're reaching out to people, you're touching people's lives, you're filling up their mind with your content, and being mindful of what it is that you're putting out there. So, you know, from the bottom of my heart and hers and everyone else listening, thank you.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Nice. Very nice sentiment.
Yeah.
I think that's I think personally that's a good spot to end it, because it's been 3.5 hours.
Yeah. My kids are going to be up in a minute.
Oh my God.
Guys,
Oh,
thank you so much for doing this. I've absolutely loved recording with you, all of you.
It's always a pleasure.
We have to do this again.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
very much.
Absolutely.
Great meeting you,
Thank you
Kat.
all.
Great meeting you too, Eric. It was really nice.
I love you all.
Love you, JJ.
Love
Good
you
seeing
all,
you,
guys.
Jim.
JJ.
Too.
I'm going to come to the conference next year.
Good.
I'm going to try
Awesome.
to. I would
Yeah,
love
No,
you
you're
really?
coming.
Oh, awesome. If you go, I'll go.
Let's go.
September 14th.
I'm going to start saving now. I'm coming.
Yeah, same.
I've got the date.
Oh,
September
Awesome.
14th.
I stopped recording again. I don't.
Oh, how much did you
okay.
miss?
Just.
I'll
just
send
a
you
couple.
this. I'll send you this.
Okay, you.
That's insane.
Yeah, you.
I'll send you the
you
whole
have all
thing.
the. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. It did it 3 times.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Well, guys,
Well,
I love you all.
Love you
Love
too,
you,
Tommy.
Yeah, this is not the last
Thank
time
you,
we're going to be
guys.
together
Yeah.
talking.
Yeah. I feel that too.
Yep.
For sure.
You guys
Fantastic.
take care.
Awesome. Oh,
Ooh.
JJ, can you talk to me after we're done real quick for like 5 minutes? Okay.
So-
Guys, should we end
Okay.
it on a happy Halloween?
Yes.
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 3, 2, 1. Happy
Happy
Halloween.
Halloween, everyone.